Jack Doherty spent years harassing the public, antagonizing others, and being a self-entitled man-child who's willing to cross any boundary for content.
Maybe like, oh! Oh! No! No! No!
But now, he's finally getting what he deserves. He's been perma-banned from Kick, his girlfriend McKinley broke up with him.
It's like my girlfriend called the cops on me. I can't believe what's happening right now. Girls are, the fake it, you guys wouldn't even believe it. Bro, you called the cops on me in my own house after I've done everything.
And if that wasn't bad enough, he's also running out of the money he earned by selling his soul.
Everything, bro. When I met this girl, I was making $1.5 million a month. Now, I'm making probably a tenth of that. Like, what the?
But even that's not the end of his downfall, since he's desperately trying to farm sympathy points by pretending to act miserable.
I love her, and she's my girlfriend. That's why I've been with her for the past 2 years. You know, it's like, I'm not an idiot. I'm not gonna be with someone I don't love or don't think I would be with in the future. And I don't think it's something like we can't overcome.
And faking a robbery.
I just got robbed on Rodeo Drive. 4 armed guys hopped out of their car, ripped both my chains off my neck.
Unfortunately for Jack, the internet couldn't care less. Every day when Jack is having a bad day is a good day. I've been waiting for this moment for years. Now, if you haven't been keeping up with the Jack Doherty saga, here's a super quick recap to get you up to speed. His much-awaited downfall began with him crashing his car. After trying to read his stream chat while flooring it in the rain, he's since been caught viewbotting his streams.
Okay, Jack Doherty with the views. Look at robot views. Okay, let's see Stable Ronaldo. Okay, let's see. Oh, whoa.
Exposed for scamming his remaining viewers with a crypto rug pull.
I'm buying McLaren coins. All right, let's go. I just bought 5 soul. Worth. Let's see.
And permabans from Kick after he got into a fight with a stream sniper.
They're getting chips everywhere.
More recently, his girlfriend McKinley broke up with him and left him without his biggest source of income, which was her OF account.
Just use me for fucking money. For real. For sure. I never thought it would be possible, but it's obvious. It's like no bitch flips like that in 24 hours, changes their passwords to absolutely everything, calls the cops on me to take all their shit, and like that. Like, who the fuck does that after I've done everything for this?
That's where we left off in my last video, and things have only gotten messier since, starting with Jack's complete inability to decide on the narrative he wants to portray. He went from accusing McKinley of using him for his money.
Don't even know her. It's insane. Like, evil, bro. She's been plotting this shit for a minute. This just used me for fucking money. For real. For sure.
To putting on a sad face and talking about how much he still loved her the very next morning.
I love her, and she's my girlfriend. That's why I've been with her for the past 2 years. You know, it's like, I'm not an idiot. I'm not gonna be with someone I don't love or don't think I would be with in the future.
Now, you'd be forgiven for thinking that maybe these were his real feelings. After all, he looked genuinely distraught by the sudden breakup. But make no mistake, the only thing Jack really cares about is the content, which is why he changed his tune once again, and went from practically begging McKinley to come back to getting a new girlfriend who looks like McKinley's long-lost twin sister named Christiana Sansone. But when this new relationship failed to get the attention he was looking for, Jack moved on to his next genius plan, one that involved a potentially fake crime. On the 7th of May 2025, he posted a video titled, "I got robbed for $300,000, in which he told the story of how he was robbed of his 2 diamond chains worth $300,000 in broad daylight while in the middle of a crowded area.
Rob me, they just took both my fucking chains, bro. Dog. Jake, what the bro?
They had a gun.
Where's yours? What the bro? Like, why don't... What the dog?
And while he did call the police and file an official report,
It was 2 diamond chains, like $300,000. Did they touch you?
Yeah,
it's not
yes.
bleeding. I don't know with 100K, one with 200K.
Many people are convinced that he's lying about the whole incident, with comments like, no bruises or cuts from being knocked down, no scratches or red marks from chains being ripped off. He is very calm despite having, quote, guns pointed at him. Yeah, this is all lies. And that doesn't look like someone who's just been robbed, looks like someone who's filed a false police report and is instantly regretting it. What's crazy is that these accusations might turn out to be true. There's plenty of evidence pointing towards the whole thing being a fake stunt for attention, or as some people suspect, insurance fraud. For starters, Jack Doherty, the streamer who goes out of his way to film the lowest points of his life without a second thought, was somehow not filming when the robbery happened. Not to mention the fact that his story is full of holes and contradictions. For instance, at one point, he mentions getting tackled to the ground by the robbers.
That was a setup for sure, bro. It's too perfect. I walk out and they're right there, bro. Three or four of them just tackling me to the ground.
But then immediately changes his story to where he was pinned against a wall.
Pinned up against the wall like this, and I see my change right there in this guy's hand, and I'm being pushed like this. Some other guy's going at my watch, and I'm like trying to fight him off.
But that's not all, because he changed the story once again and started talking about getting chased by the robbers instead.
Dude, he was chasing me around the road trying to get my watch off. And I don't know which way to go, bro. Because if I go too far away, he's gonna just get me alone, and I have a broken collarbone, so I can't even fight this guy.
His ex, who's known him for years, thinks that he made it all up as well.
So he got his chain yapped. No, I just want to get your opinion.
Okay.
For people that don't know, and this is up to you, but it just feels staged.
I feel like it's staged. I'm not gonna lie.
Put simply, most people aren't buying the robbery narrative, and the ones that do believe his story have zero sympathy for him either, with comments like, are the robbers okay? I hope they got home safe. Couldn't have happened to a better person, flooding his video. Jack's career is unraveling right in front of his eyes, and every attempt he's made to remedy the situation has backfired horribly. One of these attempts was his appearance on the No Jumper podcast with Adam22. Judging by his tone and mannerisms, it's obvious he's trying to come off as a changed man, someone who learned from his mistakes and is ready to move on.
I feel like the last time that we did the podcast, you were doing your thing, but it feels like a lot has changed since then.
Yeah, I was a little crazy back then.
Unfortunately for Jack, this podcast felt less like his redemption arc and more like an extended self-snitching session, where instead of outright denying the allegations of him recruiting girls that barely turned 18 for his OF business, he claims that, quote, most are older than him.
As if you're like only management shit was like primarily like aimed at getting girls who are like fresh out of high school. Was that like a fake narrative from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, most of the girls I work with are like older than me even, like a lot of them.
At one point, he also mentioned that McKinley didn't start her OF until 6 months into their relationship. This was his way of trying to shut down the accusations that he only got with her for her online earnings. However, this backfired spectacularly when McKinley revealed that she only started this business because Jack blackmailed her into it.
He told me he'd send me back home if I didn't, so I did it.
No.
Swear.
Now, I should mention that McKinley didn't provide any proof to back up this claim, but given Jack's track record, it's not hard to imagine him actually doing something like this, just to get the thing he loves above all else, money. Even when George Janko tried to call him out on this, his response essentially boiled down to, quote, because money.
This is a version of pimping. You're pimping these girls out. You don't think that's attacking your heart in any way?
No, because at the end of the day, they all, you know, they already like want to do what they're doing, and it's just like I just actually make the money doing it, because there are so many girls that actually do OnlyFans and make, you know, $0 and stuff, and they're doing it all for what, you know? It's like every girl I work with makes like hundreds of thousands of dollars a month and millions of dollars a year, you know?
That being said, McKinley, for all her complaints about Jack, isn't much better either. Whether she was initially blackmailed by Jack or not, she eventually leaned into it hard, going as far as to use literal minors to promote her OF content.
I'm taking that Urus.
Urus?
Yep.
All right. Would you rather have this girl or this McLaren? McLaren? Oh, okay. All right. Well, sorry.
After leaving Jack, she also started showing up on FaZe Lacey's stream, and it looked like the two of them really hit it off.
I don't know what's more beautiful, the fireworks or you? That was a good one, right? That was good. That was good. That was good. That was good.
Jack even tried to get McKinley's attention by donating to Lacey.
Oh!
Oh my god.
Doherty Jack, thank you for the 25 gifted.
Thank you. Of course.
Thank you for the.
But as it turned out, she was only hanging out with him for clout. Once she had what she needed, she disappeared and stopped replying to Lacey, all while also using a picture of them two together as promo on her OF, forcing Lacey to clarify the situation in a tweet reading, "The fact I even have to make this tweet is insane. I am being used as clickbait. I'm not in any pictures or videos. Please do not fall for this BS and get scammed. My legal team and I will be getting it removed immediately. Don't believe everything you see on the internet." However, while this behavior hints that she might not be entirely blameless in how things fell apart with Jack, that isn't going to save his career at this point either. He'll likely continue to become more and more irrelevant with each passing day, until no one is interested in talking about him, no matter how many controversial stunts he tries to pull. Alternatively, if the robbery does turn out to be fake, he could actually face criminal charges for obstruction of emergency services, or something along those lines, and maybe even end up in jail. Jack's lost income was only the start, as McKinley's account exposed the relationship and business structure behind it. The most hated streamer in the world is somehow even more pathetic than people thought he was.
One of them being he flipped an entire golf cart on top of me on purpose.
And at this point, there doesn't seem to be a single line he won't cross for clout and money.
He literally was excited over the fact that we were going to make the most money we have ever made in our lives. It wasn't because he was excited to have a baby with me and have a family and start a new era.
It has reached the stage where his ex-girlfriend did a 5-hour interview exposing him for being a terrible and abusive boyfriend who manipulated her through false affection, trapped her with endless contracts and NDAs, and only cared about the money he was able to make from her. And instead of taking these allegations seriously or addressing them at all, Jack was busy trying to break into events he wasn't invited to, getting into arguments with other creators, and saying the most outrageous stuff he could think of.
I'm kidding, but like, my brother's gay. The fuck? I kissed 2 guys at once. How can I be homophobic? You don't know anything. You're just a woman.
You can still be homophobic.
Oh, and what are you?
All for the sake of farming viral clips, just so he can keep his dying career afloat for a little while longer. Jack Doherty is arguably one of the most infamous streamers on the planet. He made a name for himself by harassing people in real life and then hiding behind his bodyguard when things got real. He also became known for hanging out with a bunch of OF models on streams. We now know the true extent to which he was exploiting these girls, but we'll get to that in a bit. Put simply, Jack was the quintessential nuisance streamer who quickly became one of the most hated figures on the internet. And while this notoriety fueled his growth initially, it has also become a key factor of his perpetual downfall. Because whenever something bad happens to him, not a single soul is willing to give him any support. Every day when Jack is having a bad day is a good day. When I got a notification that he lost everything, I smiled. Jack Doherty is not doing very well. Good. The last time everyone was clowning on Jack, he was trying to gain online attention by faking a robbery.
I just got robbed on Rodeo Drive. 4 armed guys hopped out of their car, ripped both my chains off my neck.
Crashing out over his girlfriend, McKinley breaking up with him, and calling the cops to escape his clutches.
His hands on her.
It's like my girlfriend called the cops on me. I can't believe what's happening right now. Girls are the fake. You guys wouldn't even believe it. Bro, you called the cops on me, my own.
And failing miserably at farming sympathy from the internet.
I love her and she's my girlfriend. That's why I've been with her for the past 2 years. You know, it's like, I'm not an idiot. I'm not gonna be with someone I don't love or don't think I would be with in the future. And I don't think it's something like we can't overcome, but like...
Now, from everything that came out when the breakup happened back in May last year, we had some idea of why McKinley made this decision.
He got violent with her last night. He put his hands on her. She came to my house. I'm an old friend of his.
However, even with everything people already knew about Jack, no one could have predicted just how dire her situation really was. The details of her life with Jack became public in October 2025, when McKinley appeared on Camila Araujo's podcast, who was also a part of Jack's group until earlier that year. The single episode was divided into 2 parts, spanning over 5 hours in total, and packed to the brim with some of the most damning allegations against Jack. A large portion of these allegations were focused around the same topic: Jack's borderline obsession with farming content. Admittedly, anyone even remotely familiar with him knew this already. After all, the first thought in his mind after crashing his McLaren and injuring his friend wasn't rushing him to a hospital or even making sure that he was okay. Instead, his first instinct was to start filming the aftermath of the crash, just so he could get as many views out of the accident as possible. As a comment on YouTube puts it, "Crashed going 71 miles per hour while reading chat on a highway full of rain. He gave his bleeding friend a camera and a phone to get the angles. Don't forget, his friend's arm is popped out. This man is just disgusting, honestly." But even that incident didn't fully reveal the length Jack's willing to go to for content. About an hour and a half into the first part of the podcast, McKinley recounted an incident that happened in August last year. Jack took McKinley and others in his crew to a takeover event in LA, which, for those who don't know, are informal, often illegal and dangerous car meets, where hundreds of people gather to perform stunts like drifting and street racing in a public space. Several of these meets usually happen back-to-back on the same night as well, with viewers having to drive between them if they want to catch all of the action. That night, Jack and the others had already gone to 2 of these events, and were driving to the third one on their tour bus. McKinley, however, had a bad feeling about the whole thing, and decided to stay back in the bus for the third one. Unfortunately for her, the bus turned out to be far less secure than she had hoped.
Like, we were not hiding anywhere. Like, we were in a party bus, like, very out in the open. And I was sitting in my seat, every type of thing, freaking out, so much anxiety. And then I hear the car door open. And I pop my head up, and I'm like, okay, everyone's back, like, finally time to go. When I looked up from the seat, I make eye contact with a guy I'd never seen before in a surgical mask. Like, it wasn't the 2 guys in shiesties that I had seen. It was a guy with a bag, a gun.
She didn't know what this guy's intentions were and was understandably scared out of her mind.
And I looked at him. He said, "Who's in this party bus?" I didn't think he knew I was in there. So when I popped up and like made eye contact with him, I thought maybe it would spook him and that he would like get out. And then I saw him hop over the seat into the van. And in this van, like, you're able to stand up fully straight up. He started running towards me, and I was like, I'm dead. Like, this is the time I like either get like, you know, killed or something horrible. And I just remember saying, like, please, no. Like, I just was begging him. I was like, you can have everything, like, of mine. You can have my purse, you can have my money. I couldn't find my purse anywhere. I was like, where the fuck is it? I was like, please help me find it.
Luckily, the guy was only after her money and took off after robbing her. And while losing everything sucked, it was one of the better outcomes of that unpredictable situation.
And get away with it. It could have been a stolen gun. He had a mask on. They could have came back to me dead in the car. But I was like, please help me find my purse. Like, I'll give you everything.
After calming her nerves, she managed to call Jack and the others back to the bus. And after going through such a traumatic event, the least she deserved was reassurance from her boyfriend. Jack, however, had something else on his mind. To him, McKinley nearly losing her life was nothing more than great content that is sure to go viral.
Wait, did he take your stuff?
I think.
What the fuck?
Oh no, I said first my baggies to get your fucking bag.
He took your purse?
I don't know.
McKinley, where?
Oh my God.
Where's the key? Where's the key? Okay.
But that was the most real trauma.
Even when she explicitly asked Jack to cut the cameras, he did not listen and continued filming.
Like, it was a noise that had never came out of me before. I was freaking out. Jack was, yelling at me. He was like, what happened? And I'm like shaking. I'm like, I can't even like explain what happened. He refused to shut off the camera. He refused to stop his live stream. He was laughing about it, saying like, well, you're gonna wake up tomorrow and like, you're gonna wake up to all these TikToks and like these viral clips. And I'm like, Jack, I don't care. I'm like, everything is content. Like, I don't know what isn't anymore.
However, as awful as this behavior was, at least he wasn't the one who caused the incident in the first place. Because, as it turns out, he's not above deliberately harming others just for the sake of farming viral clips. And there's no better example of this than one of his streams back in November 2023, when he flipped a golf cart while McKinley was sitting beside him. He received plenty of backlash for it back when it happened, but for the wrong reason. You see, most people at the time assumed that he was just being reckless, and the cart flipping over was a total accident, with some commenters even telling him to be, quote, careful. But as McKinley revealed during the podcast, this was no accident.
One of them being he flipped an entire golf cart on top of me on purpose, and it was for a clip. I know that because he was trying his best to flip it, and you can see in the footage the only thing that he was looking for was the camera to see if they got it. I want to insert that clip and show you guys what had happened.
And that wasn't even the worst of it. Jack not only did the stunt on purpose, he once again prioritized content over the safety and well-being of his girlfriend.
He had prior obligations to go on a yacht with Antonio Brown, so it wasn't a priority. I was like, Jack, I need to go to the hospital. I was crying. I couldn't even walk. My back was so bruised up, and like my whole entire spine was just bruised. And my neck, it had hit my neck. It literally could have killed me.
He kept trying to convince her that she was okay and that it was nothing. However, when she took matters into her own hands and went to the hospital without him, he suddenly rushed over to the hospital. Of course, the reason behind this visit had little to do with his concern over his girlfriend, and it was more about his desire to get as much content out of it as possible.
And he was filming me. I was so embarrassed because I'm like, I'm in the hospital, you're filming all of these things. He was like, you're the baddest one in the hospital on video. And I was like, I'm just not in the mood for this. But he was filming and they gave me medicine.
But at least he pretended to care while the cameras were on, as he not only never treated her like a normal girlfriend behind the scenes, but sometimes even got physically violent with her over otherwise minor arguments.
He's like, you're not grateful for shit. He's like, I should have never given you a fucking chance. And I'm brushing my teeth, I'm crying, there are tears coming down my face. And he comes right here and he's like, you're a stupid fucking whore, he's spitting on me. He literally, I could feel the fucking spit come off of his mouth because of how close he was to my face, screaming in my ear. And he pushes me as hard as he can into the wall. And I caught myself in my arm, which I have a picture of the bruise.
Which begs the question, why did McKinley get in a relationship with such an awful guy in the first place? And the answer to this question involves the biggest accusation McKinley made against Jack on this podcast. Put simply, Jack actually treated her super well in the beginning. She talked extensively about how he made her feel loved and protected during the early days of their relationship. There was a time when she could see herself spending the rest of her life with Jack. Despite how he treated everyone else on his streams, he was nice and kind to her.
If he was toxic in the beginning, why was I with him? But he wasn't. He was amazing. And I want people to know that like I didn't put myself in a toxic situation, but he was so different in the beginning. And I know like what people see of him online, like it's obviously negative and all this stuff, but that wasn't who I fell for. It was not that. It was a protector. It was a provider. It was someone that had respect for me and, you know, just made sure I was okay and opening the car door for me, taking me out to dinner, very respectful.
She even mentioned being okay with his OF business as long as he kept her out of it. But then the mask started slipping, as his true motive became more and more apparent.
Michelle walked into the bathroom I was in. I was by myself. And she basically told me, listen, don't freak out, but Jack really wants you to start OnlyFans, and he said that there's no reason for you guys to be together if you're not helping. And I broke down in tears. I was like, wow. Like, everything that he had said to me, like, oh, I know you're my wife because you don't have one, and getting me to go to dinner and try to get me on OnlyFans, but it didn't work. Now it's an ultimatum. He wanted When he realized he didn't have the control over me when it came to other people and like what they could say, he realized that he did need to create an ultimatum for me. And that was hard for me. And he knew that. He knew what I felt and how I felt about him and the whole situation.
As she mentioned in the podcast, this was quite the shock for McKinley, who never thought Jack would want this from her. But when she tried to argue against it and give her reasoning for why she didn't want to do it, that's when the alleged true emotional manipulation began.
They just start laughing. I didn't think it was funny. I guess they were just like, because Jack had never brought up OnlyFans to me, so it was like, because he made everyone else do it. Very awkward. Yeah, he made everyone else do it. Which was, it's sad looking back on it because that was something I respected. I was like, I respect the fact that he cares about my beliefs and he understands that.
Assuming everything she revealed on the podcast was true, it makes it clear why he was so nice to her earlier, since to him, this was all part of his plan to gain her trust and eventually use that trust to expand his OF business even further. After talking to him, she believed she could talk him out of it. Jack, however, was more prepared to move forward with his plans than she realized.
And in my head, I was like, I am not doing this. I'll have a conversation with him tomorrow and I'll just be like, listen, I've been thinking about it. I can't do it. Like, that's where my head was at, but I just literally, I wanted to stop the conversation. I was so uncomfortable and he told me to sign it. I didn't even have the opportunity to talk to my parents about it. I was gonna call my mom because my mom was more comforting.
Now, it's important to clarify that he technically didn't force her to sign that contract, but from everything revealed about his behavior and manipulation, it's not hard to see why she agreed. The contract he had her sign was also quite exploitative, as it gave Jack full control of all her socials, while also making him entitled to a significant portion of her future earnings. Unfortunately for McKinley, that was only the beginning of her troubles.
Access to my accounts and all of this stuff, the disrespect started showing. Like, he was not as respectful as he was in the beginning. A dinner, you could forget about it. We never went on dates. We never did anything like how we did in the past. He was strictly just, content. So I was like, how do you keep up with all of this stuff?
So not only did Jack love bomb her in the beginning, just so he could convince her to sign that contract, but the second she did, he dropped the mask entirely and became obsessed with earning as much money through her as possible. This also revealed another destructive side of Jack that she didn't know about before, his substance abuse problem. Allegedly, Jack is severely addicted to prescription stimulants, even though he doesn't have any legit medical reason to take them. And if that wasn't bad enough, he allegedly forces many of his employees to take it as well, and even got McKinley addicted to the same stuff, just so they could keep up with his insane content schedule.
I'm exhausted. Like, how does your life, like, how do you continue to do this? And he was like, it's Adderall. Like, you should try. He was like, you will be successful. I'm not proud of it at all, but I had a horrible Adderall addiction dating him because of him telling me I needed to keep up with him. And also, it's like when Jack's face is somewhere, I was always there. I had to keep up with him.
This one addiction also reveals a lot about why he behaves the way he does on camera. As a comment on YouTube perfectly puts it, addicted to drugs plus addicted to attention. That's a bad combination. That said, if manipulating her into signing an OF contract and getting her addicted to prescription stimulants wasn't enough, throughout the podcast, McKinley also revealed many other horrible things Jack did, including actively cheating on her, openly flirting with other girls in front of her, and constantly berating her both on stream and behind the scenes. To Jack, their entire relationship was about the money he could get from OF, and the content he could produce for his other socials. And nothing made this more apparent than when McKinley tested positive on a pregnancy test. If he had even an ounce of real feelings for her, this could have served as a way for them to solidify their relationship into something much more concrete. That's what McKinley expected as well, but nothing in the world could have prepared her for the first thing that popped into his mind after hearing this news.
I told him, and he didn't seem surprised whatsoever. He was like, W. He literally was excited over the fact that we were going to make the most money we have ever made in our lives. It wasn't because he was excited to have a baby with me and have a family and start a new era of our life. It was, oh my gosh, we're gonna start a family YouTube channel and you're going to make so much money when you're pregnant and you have a pregnant belly.
The only silver lining in here was that Jack was very upfront about his intentions. It ended up being a reality check for McKinley, who, after consulting with a few other people, decided to terminate her pregnancy. She did not want to subject herself or her baby to the plans Jack had already made up for them.
Are in an abusive relationship and, they find out they're having a child and they think that the child will, make them a better person.
This incident also gave her the courage to eventually escape his clutches. Now, before moving forward, an important point to note is that while much of Jack's toxic behavior is public on his streams and videos, McKinley didn't provide much evidence for some of the accusations she made against Jack. Though, with everything he's known for, a large chunk of the internet is willing to believe her completely. Some people have also had an issue with her completely glossing over the gross videos she made to promote her OF involving minors, and the fact that her OF is still active months after she separated from Jack, casting doubt on her claims of Jack being the one who manipulated her into it. A proper response from Jack with solid proof can clarify these doubts, one way or another, but from the looks of things, he's showing no interest in defending himself. Maybe he thinks ignoring the controversy would make it go away. Unfortunately for him, the walls are starting to close in from every direction, and there's nothing he can do to come out the other side unscathed. People around the internet are fed up with his antics. The comments under everything he posts are flooded with people either hating on him or demanding justice for McKinley, be it on YouTube, TikTok, or any other social platforms he uses. This backlash has also tanked his viewership, especially on YouTube, where he went from getting hundreds of thousands of viewers per video to often not even reaching 100,000. But online backlash and hate is one thing. Jack's even getting cooked in real life as well, like when he tried to sneak into TwitchCon by making one of his new OF girls distract the guards.
Go distract that guy, make him look to the right, we're all gonna walk left. Go.
Is your mic allowed in? Why don't we just go in? Hi.
He was also very proud of this little stunt.
Oh, we snuck into TwitchCon. We snuck into TwitchCon. We snuck into TwitchCon.
That is until just a few minutes later, when he got confronted by the guards.
You mind stepping out over here? I need to speak to you.
Yeah.
Just come on out.
I got you.
Come on out over to...
And was promptly kicked out of the venue.
Short to be security. You are way too short to be security.
Now
You can't even run after us.
Why are you low-key such a bitch?
Yeah, why are you?
After his master plan of causing chaos at TwitchCon and farming clips failed completely, he became even more desperate and started shouting homophobic slurs just to get attention. And when streamer Peach Jars called him out on it, he had the strangest excuse locked and loaded.
I'm kidding, but like, my brother's gay. The fuck? I kissed two guys at once. How can I be homophobic? You don't know anything. You're just a woman.
You can still be homophobic.
Oh, and what are you? Homosexual?
A reasonable human being.
How am I homophobic? I love my brother.
You're not just hear all the slurs you
So
said?
what was doesn't mean I'm homophobic just because I say fat, I'm homophobic. Fat, I'm homophobic. What was reasonable? And nothing's gonna happen to me, that's the problem.
He was likely hoping to turn this into a full confrontation, but Peach Jars quickly realized what he was doing and simply walked away, causing him to become even more desperate.
I need a good comeback. I need something from you. You're full of hate. I need you to have one good, hateful comment on me. Something that makes sense. Something that's true. Because I think he's better looking than you. No, because you have nothing to say. You have nothing to say.
Then, when he was least expecting it, streamer Soul Jakey found him in the crowd and began pressing him for scamming tens if not hundreds of thousands of dollars from his fans through crypto rug pulls.
How are you?
How come you rugged all those meme coins, bro? On Pump Fun.
I didn't.
What do you mean?
You did.
You're still streaming?
Yeah, I'm live right now.
On Pump Fun?
Nah, not on Pump Fun, nah.
Wait, I think now's the time. I mean, you took all the money from those like 4 coins.
I didn't take money from shit. Look at the charts, boy.
You didn't rug them?
Nope.
It was a straight red candle, bro.
No,
on every single one of them.
No,
Yeah,
it wasn't. Dude, I know.
Nah, no one bought it. You rugged for 6K though.
Oh, you rugged a coin for $6 grand? What a
By this point, the frustration of his plans falling apart was clearly getting to him, resulting in him lashing out at Soul Jakey just a few minutes later.
Stupid part, you can't even let me speak, you idiot. Sorry. Go ahead.
Can you speak, you fucking idiot?
On that one. Hey, you guys are so dumb. You got me only 16.
And if that wasn't enough, he got pressed by another streamer named Canel Joseph, who not only humiliated him in front of a live crowd.
What are your thoughts on Jack Doherty?
He's a put.
Why?
Because it's Jack Doherty, bro. He's a put, bro. If he doesn't have no security, bro, he's...
But also shared the video with a much larger audience on YouTube. And all of this happened on the same night. Jack has become the punching bag of the streaming world, where anyone can walk up, insult him to his face, and the internet would cheer them on. That's not to say this is enough to pay for everything McKinley accused him of. He should absolutely face proper consequences for his vile actions. And for a moment, it looked like his luck had finally run out, because on the 15th of November, he was arrested in Florida for the possession of marijuana and other controlled substances, which were presumably the stimulants McKinley mentioned in the podcast. He tried to act all nonchalant and resist arrest, but forgot that his bodyguard won't be able to save him from the police, and got absolutely humbled as a result.
What? No. I got him. Hey, yo, you don't want to go neither. Back up. I'm just saying I got him. Back up. Don't worry about it. Back up. Yo, back up. Yo. Where you going? You back up? Chill. Go to the sidewalk now. Go to the sidewalk now. You want to go with him? You're funny. You want to be fucking funny? Go to the sidewalk now. You want to be funny? Try to get on the street. Go on the fucking street. I know who the fuck you think you are, bro. I'm getting out. No, you're fucking not. He was trying. After I fucking do this, who the fuck are you, bro? I was trying to walk up the street. Doesn't matter, bro. All you had to do was get in the fucking sidewalk. That's it.
Unfortunately, he was released on bail less than a day later, allowing him to continue being a public nuisance ever since. That said, he is still facing up to 7 years behind bars, which would be a fitting end for him. But even if that doesn't happen, and he's let go with just a slap on the wrist or a small fine, he's still on his way to lose the one thing he did all this for: his career. No one on the internet takes him seriously anymore, and the only people still watching are there to clown on him at every possible opportunity. And the way things are headed, it won't be long before those people get bored as well, leaving Jack to fade into obscurity. McKinley's evidence turned viewers against Jack. Alice's document and recordings would do the same to I'm Alex. YouTuber I'm Alex is facing one of the worst downfalls in YouTube history, with his channels losing over 160,000 subscribers within just 2 weeks. This comes after his ex-girlfriend, Alice Hez, published extensive evidence of mistreatment, abuse, and harassment she received over the course of their relationship. This has exposed the side of him that he kept hidden from his fanbase, which is ironic considering his entire career is based around creating expose content on other YouTubers and internet personalities. On the 15th of June 2024, Alice made a post on Twitter stating, "Here's my statement on the situation I've been scared to speak out on. It's best it was made public how horrible this person with a platform is. I would hate to see another woman go through this." This post also included a Google Drive link, which contains a number of audio and video files featuring Alex. Alongside that, it also contained an 80+ page long document with dozens of statements detailing the abuse Alice endured, alongside the screenshots and pictures to prove these allegations. The document opens up with a trigger warning for sexual assault, suicide, depression, and assault. Following this, the first major accusation against Alex is that he tried to blackmail Alice into staying quiet about the whole situation. In her words, "I've been threatened by Alex to not come out with anything at all and to keep quiet, or he'll create a contradicting story to discredit my own, but I'm not scared anymore." And as we'll see later, this accusation is disturbingly close to the truth. Alice also mentioned how she officially began dating Alex in March of last year, and later revealed that they broke up in December of 2023, so the relationship only lasted about 9 months in total. Now, that's just 9 months, but with the sheer number and severity of the accusations in this document, it almost makes it unbelievable that it all went down in less than a year. That being said, the first issue Alice faced was Alex's constant need for attention. He expected her to be available for Discord calls 24/7, and she states, "Alex felt that because I'm home all day and work from home, that I would be able to call 24/7, and to completely shut out any other social interactions I have with my friends. And when she couldn't join a call because she was busy elsewhere, like with friends or family, Alex would emotionally blackmail her, saying things like, "Guess everyone has got something better to do," or "No one wants me." Either that, or he would get angry and start dishing out a barrage of insults. "Idiot, you text like a retard, so call me. You're stupid." And if Alice tried to apologize and calm things down, he'd stay heated and go as far as telling her to off and calling her a cunt. She further explains, "After screaming at me in calls and disregarding everything I've ever said, he would explain how it's always my fault and that I should apologize, that I should fix it and fight for him after he's made it worse by completely dehumanizing and degrading me. What's extremely disturbing is Alice didn't use the term dehumanizing here as a metaphor."
Now, when it's too fucking late, you admit that you did everything fucking wrong. But when it actually matters, when you should lay down like a good fucking dog.
During this time, Alice also found out that not only was Alex keeping touch with several of his exes despite promising he wouldn't, she also discovered that he was even stalking one of his previous girlfriends and still had her explicit images on his phone. However, this was only the start of Alex's twisted behavior towards Alice. In July, the two of them went on a holiday to Italy. However, what should have been an opportunity for the two of them to finally make up got ruined when, according to Alice, Alex started watching a video about, quote, "a girl being hyper after trauma," unquote, which is a terribly disturbing notion on so many different levels. So, when Alice noticed the contents of this video, she opened up to Alex about her own past essay-related trauma. However, instead of consoling her or understanding her struggles, Alex told her that he, quote, "doesn't want to know what has been done to her by other guys," unquote. He also got angry and threatened to leave Alice on her own in a foreign country with no way of getting back home, and even blamed her for ruining the trip after coming back and saying things like, "Bringing up weird shit on our first holiday, you ruined every moment," as well as, "I have no fond memories with you." However, things got even worse for Alice when she asked Alex for advice about getting into Twitch streaming and expanding her online career. Instead of helping her in any meaningful way, Alex just resorted to belittling her for trying. "You're like everyone else, stupid idiots who think they know better than the only man who has done it all successfully," as well as, "It's easy to sit there like everyone else and cry about it when you're a jobless freak. Imagine trying to teach retards like you and my mates how to do this. And kill yourself. I just told you how to make 6 figures, so f*** off." He would even call Alice a, quote, "dumb" multiple times during this argument. And while this is awful, Alex managed to take things even further into the realm of depravity. For some context, many years ago, Alex posted a video in which he criticized Hannah Mojo's use of a racial slur by saying the N-word out loud himself. He later apologized for this and admitted that it was a dumb thing to do.
"I deleted that video because I don't stand by that video, and that video was and there's no excuses for that video that I made."
Most bought this apology as genuine, with comments reading, "As a black person, I think he was genuinely sorry in his apology. You could tell he was ashamed. That doesn't excuse the fact he said it at all. But from the looks of things, it's clear that his use of the N-word wasn't a dumb mistake, but rather a deliberate choice. This is because Alex seems to have no issues about using the N-word as an insult to his girlfriend. If you're already disgusted by Alex's emotional manipulation, gaslighting, and condescension, it gets even worse, because these usual insults quickly escalated into threats of physical violence, with Alex telling Alice to, quote, "die in a f***ing hole and kill yourself," and even directly threatening her by saying things like, "I'm going to f***ing kill you," and "I'm going to break your neck." Alice also managed to record one of these horrible threats he made during a video call.
Acting like this is all just me, and that's something you really need to f***ing fix.
I'm gonna f***ing bash your f***ing head against the wall with a brick if you don't shut the f*** up.
After putting up with these threats and constant abuse for a bit over 9 months, Alice finally decided that enough was enough and broke up with Alex on the 28th of December 2023. She detailed the events leading up to this breakup in the document she shared with everyone on Twitter. According to her statements, on the day of the breakup, Alex asked if he could help with any house chores. She told him to clean the sides of the kitchen cabinets and take out the bins, but instead of doing the tasks he asked for, he started screaming at her for giving him more than one task and telling her that he couldn't couldn't handle more than one at a time. And as Ellis tried to walk away to avoid any further escalation, Alex crossed a major line. He allegedly became physically violent. According to the document in Ellis's Google Drive, Alex kicked her in the back, nearly making her fall to the ground. At this point, Ellis was scared out of her mind and was panicking. She was afraid that Alex would hit her again, so she started recording on her phone just in case. All the while, Alex began following her around, insulting her further and trying to incite another argument. During his rambling, he also says that he's the one who pays for everything, so what Alice has to say doesn't matter one bit. After Alice left, he also began threatening to throw her remaining stuff out, including her PC setup worth over £4,000. She quickly returned to take it back, but it was too late. Her setup was on the floor in pieces, the keyboard was broken and scattered everywhere, and both her monitor screens were also smashed to bits. From what we've seen so far, there's plenty of evidence to show just how abusive Alex had been towards Alice since the very beginning of their relationship. Yet something completely surprising happened after the breakup. Put simply, Alex suddenly turned into a new man, or at least that's what he began saying, stating that he, quote, wants to make stuff better, and that he, quote, wants everything to be normal again. By this point, Alice wanted nothing to do with him, so she began ignoring him completely and even blocked his number, which is a clear indicator that she did not want to discuss anything with him. However, Alex kept messaging her on different social platforms, including ones she made for her cat, in hopes of gaining her attention. He even sent her a 24-minute long voice note, crying, admitting fault, and begging Alice to give him another chance.
I'd convinced myself that you were always looking for a way out, when in reality you just wanted me to be normal. You didn't want my money, you didn't want anything from me apart from me to just be what I could be all the time. And I'm so sorry, Alice.
When that didn't work, he tried sending her a gift through Amazon with an apology message reading, "I'm deeply sorry for upsetting you and letting you down constantly. I hope one day you can forgive me and we can talk." He even tried the pre-internet technique of sending a handwritten letter to Alice, reading, "Dear Alice, I'm so sorry for not fixing my behavior before, and I understand this might be too late or too little. You are the love of my life, and I will never forgive myself for hurting you." During this time, Alice began posting things on Twitter and other social media platforms relating to domestic abuse and toxic relationships. Now, if someone suddenly starts making these kinds of posts, it's natural for people to assume they've experienced something similar. These posts can come across as a subtle cry for help, a way to share their struggles without openly announcing them to everyone. And since many of Alex's subscribers knew about his relationship with Alice, they'd likely start asking questions. To avoid such a situation, Alex tried to talk Alice into keeping their matters hidden by saying stuff like, "We have a right to a private life," and that, quote, "venting to your friends I understand, but this makes this whole situation harder for both of us," and takes it to an unneeded place. But when Alice refused to cooperate one bit, Alex changed his approach and adopted a more threatening tone, saying things like, "If you keep posting this stuff, it'll end up being a huge problem." This is also where he began threatening to make up a counter story that Alice mentioned near the start of this document. "Alex, I don't want to talk about you hitting me, and I found the text about the cat." Alice, "Because I didn't, and you'd be lying." Alex, "When you said you'd punched me." Alice, "I didn't punch you over a cat. Is this you saying you're gonna use that?" Alex, "No, I'm not. But right now, you're pushing against me." Before Alex could make up any stories about what, quote, actually happened, Alice decided to come forward with her story and all the evidence she'd gathered over the months. Which brings us back to June 15th, when Alice made the Twitter post that started this whole controversy. As soon as the post went live, people started voicing their support for Alice, with a tweet from Wonderstruck reading, "Just finished reading through the drive. Genuinely deplorable behavior. I sincerely do apologize for the volatile behavior that was directed towards you." With another user tweeting, "I am literally shivering after seeing all this. More love and support to you. Please take care of yourself." The YouTube community is completely on Alice's side as well, to the point that there isn't a single person on YouTube who's defending Alex's actions. It's important to note that a big reason why everyone's unanimously taking Alice's side is because because the evidence she's published leaves no room for doubt. There are dozens of texts of Alex calling her all kinds of horrible names, and clips of him calling her a dog and threatening to smash her head against a wall with a brick. That's some pretty deplorable stuff. And while everyone else on the internet was bashing Alex's behavior towards his ex-girlfriend, two of his friends also came forwards with statements condemning his actions. Memulus made a post on Instagram stating, "I'm aware of the Alex situation. I would usually wait until both parties have said their side publicly before speaking out, but I think the evidence here is overwhelming. I spent this morning reading what Alice has written and going over the evidence she has provided, and no one should have to go through what she has. It's awful and disturbing and has seriously shocked me. I'm still processing what's happened. This is one of the worst situations I've ever seen in my life, and I hope Alice is okay. It took a lot of courage to speak out about this." Will and E also took a similar stance and completely sided with Alice, but also made a shocking revelation. Firstly, I really hope Alice is doing well and commend her massively for having the courage to get that out there. As Mia mentioned, there were rumors of his behavior earlier last year. Myself and a few others hadn't had contact with him since or been his friend for even longer. With that being said, the severity of the abuse that Alice published was far worse than anything I'd heard being discussed, and what he put her through is inexcusable. In other words, people close to Alex already knew about his toxic traits, or at least had suspicions, but chose to ignore the matter until Alice came forward with her complete story. Well, not everyone. According to Will and E's ex, Mia Exmon, she and Alex were signed to the same YouTube talent agency up until last year. For those of you who don't know, a YouTube talent agency is a company who helps them find sponsors in their videos. But when she became aware of the abuse back in June of 2023, she forwarded the information to the agency and pressured them into dropping Alex, which they did. And while most see this as a good thing, some are calling Mia's moral compass into question, with a tweet reading, "Isn't she just as bad as everyone else who knew by staying silent? I feel like we can't criticize everyone else and give her praise because she also knew about it and didn't say anything publicly. But as someone else points out, it's the victim's story. What if Alice wasn't ready to share it?" Ultimately, it is a very complex situation with no clear answer, though in light of Alice's bravery, a couple other victims of Alex have also come forward, detailing their horrible experiences with him. The first of these is his ex-girlfriend Jess Carter, who replied to Alice's tweet talking about how she had to endure similar treatment from Alex. She also posted a screenshot of texts one of her friends received from Alex back in 2019, which includes messages like, "I'm going to kick her head in, might kill her, might actually kill her," when talking about Jess. So from the looks of things, the threats of physical violence towards his romantic partner aren't exactly a new thing, and have been part of Alex's personality for a long time. And just like with Alice, people were quick to come forward to support Jess. At the same time, a YouTuber by the name of King Annie also came forward about her horrible experience with Alex. But instead of receiving support like Alice and Jess, she's getting immense backlash for something she did alongside Alex about 4 years ago. For context, in mid-2019, the YouTuber Slazzo's ex-girlfriend, Shay, published a tweet longer accompanied by screenshots in which she accused Slazzo of being controlling, manipulative, and sexually abusive. A few weeks later, Slazzo made a video titled My Side, where he showed the screenshots, the proof, everything. He proved that he did not abuse her, he didn't force her to do anything, and he was just an immature boyfriend. In other words, the accusations against him were completely off base and inaccurate. Despite this, some people still kept saying that Slazzo was in the wrong, most notably King Annie. In the end, these false allegations completely ruined Slazzo's career and forced him to quit YouTube entirely soon after. So now that the allegations against Alex came out, King Annie came out and blamed the entire Slazzo situation on Alex as well, with a post reading, "We started to realize that when there was even the smallest amount of drama, and he heard about it, he would make sure to involve himself, even if the subject had absolutely nothing to do with him, and he would just make everything so much worse. For example, the Slazzo situation. Though it was never said in the original statements by Shay, he somehow came to the conclusion that it was and everyone else got the blame for saying his words. However, people are not willing to let King Annie declare herself as a victim in the Slazzo situation, with a post from Wavy Websurf reading, "You helped spread those Slazzo allegations. Don't try to slink out of that. You heard a rumor, did zero vetting, and went with it. Take some accountability for what happened. You co-signed that false story." Some don't even want to acknowledge her as a victim of Alex's toxic tendencies, with a tweet reading, "And now they're trying to take a piece of the victim pie. Alice is the victim, not her. What should have been a straightforward story of a domestic abuse victim coming out to the world has turned into a web of drama which somehow involves multiple YouTubers and incidents from over 4 years ago. This has also made it quite difficult to predict where the situation will go from here. The biggest unknown factor in this regard, however, is Alex's response, or lack thereof. At the time of writing this video, Alex has not yet responded to Alice's allegations in any shape or form. The video of him threatening to smash his girlfriend's head is enough to sink his career on its own, not to mention the remaining videos and dozens of screenshots proving the points Alice has brought up against him. Some speculate he'll make a half-assed apology and try to play the bad mental health card, but given the severity of the situation, that'll only enrage more people. In all honesty, it'd be a miracle if he somehow managed to keep even 10% of his audience, since there's nothing he can say or do that will restore his reputation at this point.
I'm Alex stayed silent for over a year before releasing a response that intensified the backlash.
Despite watching his entire platform crumble in a matter of days and avoiding the situation for over a year, I'm Alex has finally returned to share his side of the story. However, would said response be enough to turn the tide of public opinion, or will it reignite the controversy and drag his reputation down even further?
This video is my response to allegations made by my ex-girlfriend Alice Hez, who I was in a relationship with for the majority of 2023. Alice hit me, kicked me, emotionally, verbally and physically abused me, as well as threatened me and blackmailed me constantly throughout our relationship.
Last year, I made a video discussing the laundry list of allegations and evidence directed at the creator, I'm Alex, by his ex-girlfriend Alice Hez. To give a super brief overview, Alice released an 80-page document and a handful of videos that revealed a truly disturbing side of Alex. During their 9-month relationship, it was alleged that Alex constantly abused, emotionally manipulated, and threatened Alice in the worst ways imaginable. From calling her a dumb to saying he would, quote, break her neck. Alex left nothing on the table when it came to being a horrible partner.
Now, when it's too late, you admit that you did everything fucking wrong. But when it actually matters, when you should lay down like a good dog, you don't do it, you fight for some reason. I don't know why you fight, because you're losing, because you end up admitting that you fucked it all up anyway, so it's just weird, and I know that you're going to end up admitting that you fucked it all up.
Alleged verbal abuse was only the beginning for Alex, as he eventually resorted to alleged physical violence by the end of their relationship. According to Alice, he'd hit her on 2 occasions, when they initially moved in together, and right after they broke up. Alex's toxic behavior wasn't limited to his then girlfriend, as he was discovered to be still stalking another one of his exes and kept intimate images of them. Throughout their time together, Alex was radically toxic, and it was only after they separated that he began showing Alice some tenderness, specifically with a 24-minute recording begging her to come back.
I could do no wrong. I felt like I was the fucking, oh, look at me, I do all this fucking work, and I do everything, and I try and do this, and, just nobody's appreciative, and, I know you appreciated it, and I know that you appreciated the effort that I used to put in. And then I just stopped because I had you and you're my girlfriend and we lived together, and the more further we got through our relationship, the less effort I put in.
Unfortunately for Alex, that bridge had already been burned, and more aspects of his life were about to go up in flames. Following Alice's expose document, the entire internet turned against Alex, from viewers dislike bombing his videos to losing around 200,000 subscribers. Alex's deplorable behavior behind the scenes was eating away at the platform he worked so hard to build. To make matters worse, his closest friends released statements disavowing him and supporting his ex. At this point, almost nothing was left of Alex's reputation, career, or community. This fall from grace was only made worse by Alex's refusal to address the situation initially, and many speculated that he would never respond at all. Fortunately for Alex, he did have a response planned. However, would it be enough to save his reputation, or would it condemn him even further? On the 20th of March 2025, Alex would finally return to the internet with a 2-hour-long video titled My Response.
This video is my response to allegations made by my ex-girlfriend Alice Hez, who I was in a relationship with for the majority of 2023. Alice hit me, kicked me, emotionally, verbally and physically abused me, as well as threatened me and blackmailed me constantly throughout our relationship. Alice has continued to harass me by posting false information about me, as well as fabricating stories about our relationship online to this day.
To start things off, Alex addressed the claim from Alice that he was under police investigation and listed in the Clare's Law database. According to Alex, there couldn't have been a police investigation since law enforcement never contacted him, and his name was not on the Clare's Law website. Furthermore, Alex highlighted how Alice shouldn't be able to share any information about an ongoing investigation, and even if she did, her private comments on the issues kept contradicting each other.
Alice wrote all of these messages and posted the document knowing that the police investigation was a lie, as it would not be possible for Alice to share any information if this was at any point an ongoing case.
From Alex's perspective, the supposed police investigation was only included to heighten the severity of the situation publicly and push the narrative that he was a criminal. While there was a possibility of that being the case, the way Alex was presenting Clare's Law was nowhere near accurate. You see, Clare's Law doesn't operate like typical criminal records, and it is not as severe. Clare's Law is simply a paper trail that police in the UK can reference in the event that someone is suspected of or reported for domestic abuse, with their website stating, Clare's Law, also known as the Domestic Violence Disclosure Scheme, is a police policy giving people the right to know if their current or ex-partner has any previous history of violence or abuse. The way Alex was presenting it made it seem like Alice was calling him a criminal, but the actual nature of the policy was more of a preventative measure. The next topic on the table was how Alice supposedly fabricated, hid, and altered many aspects of her story to preserve a one-sided narrative of him being an abuser, from changing aspects of her Google Doc to blocking people for calling out her inconsistencies on Twitter. Alex presented viewers with the idea that Alice was intentionally lying about the events that transpired in their relationship.
When Alice's story was questioned by people on Twitter, she responded with threats to leak my phone number whilst also insulting me and anyone who pointed out these inconsistencies in her document. Alice would then block these people after arguing and insulting them for replying to her posts, as they were highlighting many of the inconsistencies and lies that Alice had made. Alice changed her Google document multiple times to hide these criticisms, and has cropped messages that showed her using the same racial slurs that she had accused me of bringing into our relationship, as it directly contradicted her story.
One of the more serious aspects of the story that Alex touched on was the notion that he wasn't at all abusive in the relationship. To support his idea, Alex shared screenshots and parts of Alice's Google Doc that show her admitting to physically abusing him on multiple occasions. He also stated that Alice had fabricated one of the physical confrontations they had early on in their relationship and blown it out of proportion.
I had told my friends that Alice had been hitting me. Alice denied this on text when she found out and threatened to sue me if I continued to tell people she had been hitting me throughout our relationship. Alice says that my story will contradict hers, and that is because Alice knows that our relationship is not how she has portrayed it online. Alice says we had a huge fight where I dragged her, covered her mouth and put her in a headlock, and that this happened on the 19th of October, a few days after we had moved in with each other. There are no texts from this time that even suggest that we were fighting or had been in a fight, and that's because this did not happen.
Following this, Alice supposedly used those accusations of abuse to blackmail him into staying in the relationship, all the while being the one that was abusive. However, Alex did admit to assaulting Alice on one occasion, but tried to justify it with the following statement.
Alice started by calling me fat in text and in person, and this was because she wanted me to keep my shirt on, because she did not like my illness and she didn't want to see it or be around it. We were in bed together and Alice told me when I took my shirt off that if I was going to do that, then she wanted me to sleep downstairs. I told Alice I wasn't going to do that because I wanted to sleep in our bed that night, and she had complained that I spent too much time away from her. This angered Alice and she called me names. I ignored her and turned away so I could go to sleep. Alice turned around in bed and kicked me in my lower back, and I told her to fuck off. And then she kicked me even harder and then started to donkey kick me in my neck and in the back of my head. Alice had done this so hard that I fell out of the bed while she was still kicking me. I proceeded to get incredibly angry and I shouted at Alice and I insulted her, and this is something that I deeply regret doing. When I messaged Alice about this on Facebook, she said that she didn't just start kicking me hard. The argument had got worse and we both started insulting each other. Alice then pushed me and tried to hit me. This is when I grabbed Alice by the arms and I pulled her to the floor. This is the only time that I had tried to defend myself after Alice had tried to attack me after kicking me in the back of the head.
At this point, it was evident that the relationship was reaching its boiling point, and even the most minor transgression sparked arguments between the two. Things as insignificant as the way he talked to their cat would upset Alice, and restart their entire cycle of toxicity, something that Alex fully admits to both participating in and perpetuating.
I would get upset after I was pushed, slapped or punched. I was horrible to Alice on many occasions, and I deeply regret this behaviour, and nothing will justify that. But the order in which these events have been portrayed as false, as Alice is once again ignoring that she had tried to hurt me when I was just talking with our cat. I was upset and frustrated that Alice hadn't apologised for getting physical with me, and I lashed out at Alice over text, which I regret.
To end said cycle, Alex claimed he tried to end their relationship, but Alice wouldn't let him do that and threatened to air out all their dirty laundry publicly. However, Alice was already partially doing that by claiming he was on Claire's law in the comments section of her TikTok page. When Alex's friends found out about the situation, he tried to explain his side of the story, but acknowledged that none of it justified how he acted in the relationship.
Alice said that it wasn't like she had named me in these posts or made a video about me, but she had responded and deleted comments on videos she posted saying it was about me and that I was on Claire's law, which again is a lie. My friends saw the TikToks Alice had been posting online as she had gone through and followed them all after our breakup. Me and my friends had a call where I answered questions about my relationship, and I told my side of the story where I explained that Alice had been physically abusing me throughout our relationship. I made it clear that I did not believe that this was an excuse for my behaviour, and that our relationship was toxic and it was not good for either of us, and that I was ashamed of how I had behaved. A friend of mine at the time, a YouTuber who goes by the name of iNabber, had messaged me in our group chat encouraging me to share more stories and all the evidence I had of Alice's abuse. He told me I could trust him and that because we were friends that they weren't going to share any of it anywhere and that it would remain private after I made it clear that I was worried that it would be leaked. Alice messaged me with direct screenshots from the private conversation that I had had with iNabber and my friends. Alice had been sent screenshots from our private conversation, and it was clear that if I talked to anyone she would know as she was following as many of my friends as possible.
Sadly, the toxicity didn't end with their relationship, as Alex admitted to trying to patch things up, but was met with even more manipulation and alleged lies from Alice.
Although we had been broken up for months at this point, Alice was still messaging me about the girls that I had followed on Instagram or friends that I had refollowed. Alice sent me this message saying that any girl that I speak to would be ugly anyway and proceeded to insult them after claiming that she hasn't tried to stalk me or try to control me in her document. I refollowed my friends when it became clear to me that I was being manipulated and blackmailed by Alice. This is because Alice had unfollowed them on my phone. I did not follow many girls that I had had relations with, and we had not been together for months at this point. Alice has posted texts and videos of me begging for her back and apologizing to her. I understand how irrational my behavior looks, as I was going from one extreme to another emotionally. I was desperate for any form of solution, as it is clear from the voice notes and videos that Alice has shared that the constant emotional manipulation was having a severe effect on me, and I was saying whatever I thought I had to at the time to end the constant arguing, fighting, and blackmail.
For the rest of the response, Alex outlined several misinterpreted events, lies, and manipulated narratives that made up Alice's document. From demanding access to his phone to find incriminating evidence, to admitting her own mental issues but focused on his. Alex wanted to show viewers that she wasn't as innocent as she claimed. However, does Alice allegedly being manipulative or malicious absolve Alex of his own abusive behavior? Viewers didn't think so, and bombarded the video with dislikes and critical comments, such as, "All I'm going to say is that you're in no position to cry about the internet not giving you a chance to respond fast enough when you threw your friend Slazzo under the bus the moment you had the chance, with false claims. You guys are both wrong here, and that you were both part of a severely toxic relationship," as well as, "I don't think anyone will ever know the truth apart from those two and the cat." While Alex had cleared the air on many of the accusations, he hardly touched on his own faults in the situation, and barely mentioned any of the videos that showed him being manic. Things like the long section about the cat came off as unnecessary unnecessary and misleading, since it wasn't important to the allegations. Either way, viewers had heard his side of the story, but it wouldn't mark the end of the controversy. A few hours after Alex's video went live, Ellis made a series of tweets refuting his claims and reinforcing her accusations. Starting with the police report, Ellis shared screenshots of her conversation with a police investigator and the report she filed. From her perspective, this was enough to frame Alex as a suspect in an ongoing case, but in reality, none of the images indicated that charges were being pressed. Altogether, it looked like the law enforcement was just following up on a report, and it wasn't as dire as Ellis made it out to be. Following this, Ellis pushed the idea that they were equally as toxic to each other, with statements like, "All you've done is try to paint me out to be a liar, instead of owning up to what you did and taking accountability, and not once do I manipulate him to stay with me. I 100% was toxic back after being in the relationship, with the abuse I endured from this man for months on end. Should I have left sooner? Yes, but I was scared to. It took him being physical a second time to do so." While Alice was focusing on the intent behind Alex's response and how it betrayed her, fans were more concerned with the facts of the matter. More specifically, they wanted to know why she seemingly lied about her ex-partner not having any diagnosed mental illness. In response, Ellis stated that Alex was diagnosed after they broke up. This adds up, since the diagnosis came on the 3rd of July 2024, a month after her expose document was released. However, the fact that she was still running with the narrative months after the diagnosis raised some serious concerns and questions. Was Ellis unaware of the diagnosis, or was she just trying to muddy her ex's name even more? Either way, Alex wasn't about to let Ellis have the last say, as he released yet another response, reading, "The stories that are in this report have been fabricated. Ellis falsely accused me of pulling her to the ground and putting her in a headlock on the second day of living together in the report, despite her writing in her document that it happened on the 4th. There is no evidence to back up these claims in Ellis's story. While it isn't possible to access Ellis's original Google Doc, what Alex says about the dates is true when you compare the police report to what was said in the doc." Following this, Alex talked about how Ellis was still lying about not being an abuser, who claimed she never kicked him in bed, reading, "Ellis says there is no text evidence of her kicking me, despite the screenshot she has responded to clearly showing Ellis admitting to kicking me, and that she had a reason for why she had done this, as it was due to me sleeping shirtless." Alex continued by highlighting two other times that Ellis had lied publicly. One was in a deleted tweet, where she claimed none of her statements were fabricated, but that's already been proven false. The other was during the aftermath of their relationship, when Ellis tried to frame Alex's gifts and pleas to get back together as harassment, when she was the one who asked him to do it, reading, "Ellis also wrote in her report that I was harassing her despite me trying to end our relationship multiple times. Ellis told the police I was harassing her by sending her letters and a bear, two things that she'd asked me to do, which she then used to build her story to the police and document." Regardless of what happened between them, Alex made sure to acknowledge his faults in the situation and promised viewers he'd be a better person, reading, "This isn't an excuse for my behavior, which I made clear in the video, and in my psychiatric document where I openly discussed being verbally abusive towards her with my psychiatrist. I apologized many times privately to Alice for how unacceptable it was, which can be seen throughout the video as I tried to sort this out privately on many occasions. I am deeply sorry for things turning out this way. It is my responsibility to be better." While Alex was doing his best to repair his image and put everything behind him, the controversy was far from over, as his response to Alice brought with it a whole new wave of allegations and evidence he couldn't deny. On the 31st of March 2025, Alice published a massive 750-page document and several recordings detailing the full context of her relationship with Alex. For the sake of this video's length, we'll only examine the essential parts of the document and compare them to the narrative Alex presented in his response. The first issue Alex tackled was the claims made about the police investigation, specifically that she lied about Alex being convicted of a crime, and that said conviction would be a requirement for being listed on the Claire's Law website. Reading, "To say that I lied about going to the police about this, claiming that to be on Claire's Law you must be convicted, is false. I reported everything I could to the police with evidence I posted and more. That does not mean he was convicted or contacted. I was given the option to take Alex to court and get a restraining order because of the threats to kill and harm me. I didn't and don't have it in me to go through court. And looking back now, I should have. Everything Alice was saying here fully lines up with how Claire's law works, which leaves a massive hole in Alex's initial argument. Either he didn't know how the policy worked, or deliberately tried to discredit Alice by misinterpreting it. Unfortunately for Alex, the only one being discredited was him, as Alice shared several screenshots of him admitting to being the primary aggressor in their relationship, with texts reading, "You keep saying this like I abused you. No, I actually have never said you abused me. I said it was toxic, but I understood why it had gotten there and I heavily regretted it." As a reminder, Alex's words in these texts directly contradict the points he made in his response video and show that he willfully misrepresented the facts of their relationship.
Instead, Alice has fabricated a story entirely and has accused me of being physically abusive to hide the fact that she had been slapping, punching and kicking me throughout our relationship, something that she had tried to hide from a document and has lied about on Twitter publicly.
As if that wasn't bad enough, Alice also revealed that the only reason she released her first Google Doc was because Alex was pressuring her to stay quiet about their relationship. Reading, "I'd like to mention at this point, I had zero plans on making any statement or going public. It was the messages of him telling me to keep quiet about it that influenced my decision, and the raw fact that I wanted to clear up why I had been tiptoeing around on TikTok at the time." Above that statement, Alice included a collection of screenshots of Alex reaching out to her about posts and comments people were linking back to him. Reading, "Hey Alice, a lot of people have started to read into the posts you've made about us. I understand you're venting and I don't want to invalidate that. The posts are putting me in a really difficult position, especially because people are talking about how I haven't addressed any of it. I don't want to have to talk about it or risk making this bigger or worse for both of us. We both made mistakes that I know we regret. I'm not happy about how any of it ended and I wish every day it was different." From the very beginning, Alex knew how much damage Alice's statements would do to his career and was desperately trying to keep it out of the public eye. Sadly, his attempts to keep everything secret would be the very thing that revealed them. Following this, Alice touched on the claim that she kicked Alex in bed for being, quote, fat, and pointed out how it didn't line up with what he said in their texts. Reading, "He then says I kicked him in the bed a few times for being sweaty." Again, a lie that has now changed into another story, claiming kicks in the head and calling him fat. "This was the situation where I pushed him off me in bed. Yes, him being sweaty played part in that. And the fact I didn't want him near me after being mean to me in an argument prior. I didn't kick him out of the bed physically." Again, this directly contradicts the story Alex presented to viewers in his response.
Originally, she seemed supportive, but it quickly became something that she would use to hurt me. Alice started by calling me fat in text and in person, and this was because she wanted me to keep my shirt on because she did not like my illness and she didn't want to see it or be around it. We were in bed together and Alice told me when I took my shirt off that if I was going to do that, then she wanted me to sleep downstairs. I told Alice I wasn't going to do that because I wanted to sleep in our bed that night, and she had complained that I spent too much time away from her. This angered Alice and she called me names. I ignored her and turned away so I could go to sleep. Alice turned around in bed and kicked me in my lower back, and I told her to fuck off, and then she kicked me even harder and then started to donkey kick me in my neck and in the back of my head. Alice had done this so hard that I fell out of the bed while she was still kicking me. I proceeded to get incredibly angry, and I shouted at Alice and I insulted her, and this is something that I deeply regret doing. When I messaged Alice about this on Facebook, she said that she didn't just start kicking me hard.
Not only that, but the other instance of abuse over the cat that Alex tried to pin on Alice was wholly discounted by both parties in DMs, with Alice stating, "I never hit you or punched you in the face," with Alex responding, "I only asked because it's been so much recently and I've been really trying not to message you. Sorry I didn't accuse you of like actually beating me up, and I didn't explain it like that," with another message stating, "I think we chalked it down at the time to a misunderstanding. I'm looking at now. Obviously, it's just been hard with so many people asking, but I swear I only replied once, then cut everything off." What's even more concerning is how nowhere in the messages did Alex mention a history of Alice physically abusing him, and only seems to bring it up when he was making a response video. Lying about being abused and exaggerating parts of their relationship was becoming a very distinct pattern with Alex, as he also lied about not breaking her monitors in his response. but admitted to it in their messages.
Alice has also gone on to accuse me of smashing up her belongings, which is a lie. At no point had I broken anything of Alice's during our relationship, and as you can see from these messages that Alice has left out of her document, she sent me pictures of her monitors a few days after our argument, where Alice had falsely accused me of assaulting her and threatened to report me to the police because I had asked Alice to stay away from me because I no longer wanted to be in a relationship with her.
Despite Alex claiming he wanted nothing to do with Alice after their breakup, he's been seen crying about it and begging her to come back.
I was selfish in the moment and thought every time that you just kind of apologise with me. I'm holding this Polaroid of you. And I want nothing more than for you to just come out of this picture and just be here. I want my Alice back. God, I want you back more than anything in the fucking world. And the way that you feel about me, what I have done, I'm never ever, I'm never gonna be able to change that.
These contradictions were only the tip of the iceberg, as Alice's document points out numerous other examples of Alex either misrepresenting facts or outright lying about the course of events. However, whenever that fact was pointed out, Alex tried to pin the blame on someone else.
You just fucking misrepresent everything and tell it in a completely different order is fucking sickening. Like, I'm actually so fucking fed up with the way that you on purposely, missed fucking tell events. It's like driving me up the fucking wall. I was trying to speak to you. You were being a bitch. I know you don't like that word, but you were being a bitch. You were being fucking rude to me. I don't understand why. I then was like, can you not fucking say everything all at once? And then you started fucking insulting me, calling me fucking autistic. As if that's fucking acceptable, as if that's okay.
He even goes as far as justifying his horrendous behavior because Alice was, quote, rude to him.
And I literally said, calm down, everything's fine, this doesn't need to be a big deal. And you were like, it's not a big deal, but you were clearly fucking being rude still. Your whole attitude was fucking horrific. I tried to calm you down. And then you started being weird, fucking not talking to me, walking past me, not looking at me, on purposely trying to antagonize me at that point. Because at that point you decided that you want to fucking annoy me for some reason. I was just telling you to calm down because I didn't want to have to clean everything in a miserable fucking mood. That was what I was telling you to do. I was like, stop doing this because it doesn't have to be like this. But it always has to be like this with you. It's always fucking miserable. Everything's always it's always fucking miserable with you. I don't understand. I got so much shit on. And you know it. I'm trying to prepare everything for tomorrow. I was trying to, figure out why I don't have any fucking money because it's been fucking stolen from me. 70 fucking grand. You couldn't even fucking imagine.
While Alex did a majority of the harm in their relationship, Alice wasn't going to ignore the fact that she still played a part in their toxic cycle. Reading, I retaliated badly in this relationship and I will forever be apologetic for the words I used that offended others. But it is the right thing to do, after he has lied about the whole relationship, to just put everything out there from both sides. I will not hide from anything I've done because I truly do want to move on from this, heal, and better myself. It's safe to say that Alex didn't expect any of this to become public knowledge when he initially released his response video. That's why he felt so comfortable twisting the story to make Alice look like the abuser. Now that it's all out in the open, there's very little room for misinterpretation. When Alex made his response video, many thought he'd be at least able to bring new evidence and a fresh perspective on his relationship with Alice. Unfortunately, all he managed to do was wreck his reputation by lying, manipulating, and obscuring events in effort to accuse Alice of things he was guilty for. Yes, many aspects of their relationship were blown out of proportion or unverifiable, but the parts that were still true cast a long shadow over Alex's career, threatening to bash her head in, degrading her in texts, and physically assaulting her aren't things that can be overlooked, especially when you consider how harshly Alex criticizes other people for lesser offenses. Whether or not Alex will make another response to the 750-page document remains to be seen. What is certain is that the internet will never let him live this down, and will remind him of the lies he told for the rest of his online career if he has one.
I'm Alex's rejected defense gave way to Wilbur Soot, whose former partner made similarly serious allegations.
Wilbur Soot spent years building an incredibly successful career, amassing over 6 million subscribers on YouTube, 4.7 million followers on Twitch, and a band that toured the world. However, after serious allegations surfaced, his entire empire would come crumbling down, as his audience not only would abandon him, but became his new haters. William Patrick Spencer Gold, who we'll be referring to as Wilbur, was born on the 14th of September 1996. Growing up in the beachside town of Brighton, England, he would be raised by his split parents, who divorced whilst he was in middle school. In 2008, at the age of 12, Wilbur would create his first YouTube channel named Settings 66 alongside his childhood friend Ben, where they would upload typical content for 12-year-olds in 2008. According to Wilbur, they forgot the password and lost access to the channel, leaving it as a glimpse into his life whilst growing up. 3 years later, on the 18th of May 2011, Wilbur would create a new channel named Minecraft and Donuts. The channel was a collaboration with his friend Sophie, where they would upload regular Minecraft content up until 2013, when Wilbur would once again make a new channel, this time titled A Little Bit of Will. The channel would act as a hub for his short films and music videos. His passion for filmmaking and creating would further continue into his development, as he would go on to get a bachelor's degree in editing and post-production. By 2017, Wilbur would create his new channel named Wilbur Music in order to share his music covers.
Do nothing to substitute self-gratification. So a climax with a sigh.
Between the years 2017 and 2019, Wilbur would form a group known as the Soot House, which consisted of a variety of his friends who would make meme-based content. The channel would be a massive success, garnering over 283 million views and over 1 million subscribers. But despite this success, the channel would ultimately be abandoned, with the final upload being on the 29th of July 2019. However, during the Soot House era, he created his own personal channel named Wilbur Soot, where he would publish Minecraft content, with the first video being a collaboration with Jay Schlatt titled Tiny Minecraft 25 Block Survival Challenge.
I need you to go in there.
Yeah, okay.
I need you to go in there.
I didn't even give me any time.
During 2019, PewDiePie would make Minecraft popular again with his incredibly viral Let's Play series that would gain millions of views on each and every episode.
Oh my god. Hey dog. I love you. Come back, I give more steak.
Wilbur's solo channel would initially continue his Minecraft content streak, but in April of 2020, he received an invitation to join a new private Minecraft server, the Dream SMP. This server, created by popular YouTubers Dream and George Not Found, would transform Wilbur's career. His natural charisma and storytelling abilities were a perfect fit for the server's unique concept: role-playing. The Dream SMP propelled Wilbur to fame that he'd never reached before, amassing millions of new subscribers as he seamlessly fit into the storyline and became a well-liked member of the server. Whilst riding off the high from the Dream SMP success, Wilbur would found his indie rock band Lovejoy in May of 2021, posting their debut EP Are You Alright just days after.
On the council, Mrs. loves the silver spoon.
It wouldn't be long before the band would gain millions of monthly listeners. Wilbur would spend the following 2 years touring the world and making festival appearances with his band. It's more than safe to say that at this point, Wilbur was on top of the world. He built a multi-million subscriber YouTube empire, created a successful world touring band, and was actively becoming a superstar in his own right. However, 2024 would be a turning point for Wilbur's reputation. As little did he know, serious accusations were about to be made against him. On the 21st of February 2024, creator Shelby Shubble would host a stream titled Talking About Something More Serious. Throughout the stream, Shubble would detail her negative experience with her unnamed British ex. She spent the stream educating her audience on early signs of dangerous relationships, wherein she revealed multiple details that led to the audience believing that she was talking about the beloved streamer Wilbur Soot. She stated that during her relationship, her ex was extremely manipulative and would bite her aggressively. Shelby said that at the beginning, she didn't realize it was and would even cover for him by telling others that it was fine. However, as the biting went on, it would get to a point where he allegedly had to change locations in order to not bite the bruises and marks left from previous bites. At this point, her friends began to tell her that what was going on wasn't normal, and she would go on to learn that she was actually being abused in the relationship.
When I hear about physical, I think of hitting. I think of hitting and punching. So I thought that this wasn't violent enough to be. I thought that it was just like a constant accident that he kept hurting me, but he's not hitting me. And it didn't start as something that he did to hurt me. He had this habit of biting, which is so weird to me now, but he said that he had this habit since he was a kid, and even his mom said that that was true. And he said it was just affectionate, and that might have been, I think that might have been true maybe at the start, but I also feel that I have good reason to believe that every part of it was a lie, but that's just my personal opinion. And I had no problem with just biting. That isn't even the most uncommon thing. But he did mention something early that I should have taken as a red flag. And he wanted to make sure that I was okay with him biting me because he didn't want me to come back later and say that he me, which I thought was really weird considering he had never hurt me before. And so why would I call it? And why was he thinking about that? And I thought he was being sweet, checking on me to make sure that I was still comfortable. But of course I was, because he hadn't hurt me. And why would I think he ever would?
According to Shelby, the pair eventually started using a safe word for her to say when Wilbur's biting tendencies got too painful. However, despite that, in the final months of their relationship, he would allegedly always bite to the point where she was forced to say it.
He had, now at this point, weaponized the safe word and was using it to ensure that I was hurt, and on a constant basis. And he wasn't sorry anymore. I couldn't even tell you the last time he had apologized for doing it anymore, because now sometimes he would bite me and I would yell out the safe word because it hurt so bad, and he'd clamp down even harder. And just for a second, just for good measure, before letting go. And sometimes I'd say the safe word and he'd grind his teeth down on my skin. And sometimes he'd smile after. Like a gloating grin. And during this time, I was filled with so much anxiety all the time that I was constantly nauseous.
To make matters worse, Shelby also claimed he would joke about it looking like he abused her.
Would even joke that it looked like he abused me. And eventually he did acknowledge how bad it looked, that I was covered in bruises all the time. So he stopped biting my arms as often, and he started biting my legs instead. And it was in the last couple of months of the relationship that every time he bit me, it was until I needed to use this safe word. It had become his benchmark for when to stop. Only once I was definitely hurt, which meant I was being hurt every single day, multiple times a day, for all of the days that we spent together in person. And when I asked him to stop again, this time he said, "This is who he is. He isn't going to change." Those were his words.
Following the stream, viewers would start investigating who this abusive ex could possibly be, and with various details lining up, it was quickly becoming evident that she was talking about Wilbur. Over the following week, many of Wilbur's fanbase had turned against him. However, one post would make things a whole lot worse. On the 27th of February 2024, Wilbur Soot would make a tweet reading, "In the past week, a series of allegations have been made over my conduct from an ex-girlfriend. I want to emphasize that although I feel it fair care to offer my perspective, this person's feelings are completely valid. I have taken my time sharing the statement as I wanted to process and respond respectfully, and with the hope to gain a deeper understanding for the situation. During our relationship's final months, I regrettably became slobbish, disrespectful, and selfish. These actions caused a lot of pain to my ex-girlfriend, and I've since sought therapy to address these behaviors, making significant lifestyle changes to rectify my past actions. I've come to realize how much my past behavior hurt this person, but I truly, compassionately believe I've made great strides from the person I once was, and hope I can continue to grow and improve on this trajectory. The allegation of particularly in the form of biting, deeply shocked me. Throughout our relationship, I understood from our numerous conversations and text message exchanges on the subject that this behavior was consensual, playful, and reciprocally enjoyed. I truly believe those personal message exchanges reflect mutual affection and understanding. Out of respect for her, I choose not to publish them, and I emphasize my perspective is not shared to diminish or invalidate anyone's feelings. Instead, I share it in the hope that I can offer a genuine, fair, and relevant insight into my understanding of the situation. While I may perceive our interactions differently, I recognize that this person has processed and expressed feelings of hurt. I want to extend my sincerest apologies for any pain that I caused. I am fully committed to understanding and addressing her concerns going forwards. I hope my perspective sheds light on the situation without detracting from its message. I am dedicated to earning and maintaining the trust of those around me, and hope I continue to be held to these high standards I wish to attain and maintain. Will. It's more than safe to say that the community was not impressed with Wilbur's response, with the main criticism being how much he focused on defending himself and stating that he has, quote, changed, and not enough focusing on his alleged negative actions that brought him into the situation to begin with, as Wilbur specifically didn't admit to abusing her, and instead said he had texts that made it seem mutually enjoyed, consensual, and playful. However, some of the responses were almost as controversial as the apology itself. Minecraft YouTuber Dream would receive criticism for responding to the situation by instantly taking Shovel's side and taking the moral high ground above Wilbur, with lyrics tweeting, Dream, the guy who was falsely accused of being a groomer and p***er just 2 months ago, is taking Shovel's side against Wilbur Soot and calling him an abuser with no evidence. Dude, what is happening? On top of this, Dream conveniently posted proof that he had donated his last video's revenue to a charity for victims of assault, a move that was clearly PR and business based rather than a genuine display of proof. Lyrics' tweet would spark a discussion about accusations being used as evidence, as a community note on Wilbur's post would state Shovel's word as concrete evidence, despite Wilbur stating a different story, with another tweet from Lyrics reading, Wilbur's response to the allegations by saying everything was consensual based on his understanding got community noted, just because his ex said it wasn't. Woman's word is gospel and is taken as fact. Literally no screenshots, nothing, just testimony got him community noted. Numbers don't lie, and by looking at Wilbur's social blade, it's evident that he's lost over 220,000 subscribers in the last 30 days alone, more subscribers than he gained throughout the entire previous year. Just as things seemed at an all-time low for Wilbur, it would get even worse, as on the 9th of March 2024, even more accusations would be targeted towards him. In a tweet from user Alice Nyanya, she shared her experiences dating Wilbur back in 2019, reading, Hello, I'm Alice. I dated Wilbur back in 2019 and I want to speak out about my experience. I felt like I couldn't talk about this sooner because I was scared of his public influence and the potential backlash from fans. But now after hearing Shelby's story, seeing the support she's been shown, and admiring her bravery, I finally feel safe to break from my silence on our relationship. Back in 2019, at the beginning of the relationship, I was immediately shown a lot of affection, very reminiscent of love bombing. One of his close friends at the time warned me in confidence to, quote, be careful, unquote, as if they had seen people get hurt in the past, but I believed he was good inside. After a month, the honeymoon period was over and it was like I was dating a completely different person. I was told to keep our relationship a secret, but was framed in a way that implied it was for my safety, as if it was in my best interest to keep this secret despite my own feelings. I believed that he enjoyed having control in the relationship, or would have to hide as he streamed and sit silently in the corner of his room waiting for him to go go offline. He would say condescending things to me about my interests and the type of content I created, as if he didn't take it, or me, seriously, and would only be enthusiastic about his future plans with music and desire for fame. I never felt like he was encouraging towards me or any of my goals, and in the last few months, he'd made me feel extremely unlovable and unwanted. I suffered with self-harm tendencies in 2019. He ignored the marks on my body and only took interest in retelling his own life struggles. I also experienced the biting habit, which has already been elaborated on by Shelby. After a while, I noticed that it was always me putting effort into the relationship, so I decided one day to not be the one to message first, just to see what would happen. And he never spoke to me again, so the relationship dissolved. Skipping ahead to 2021, we'd spoken briefly over an Instagram DM about the relationship and meeting up for closure on how things went in 2019. I gave him a second chance and met up hoping to get some answers. We walked through densely populated areas of town where we got stopped multiple times by his fans. In hindsight, this felt very intentional, almost as if he wants to flaunt his influence and desirability to me. We went to a bar to talk, and then he proceeded to get me very drunk. He got us an Uber back to his house. I ended up blacking out on his bed due to the alcohol, but the last thing I remember was him unconsensually removing my clothes. The next morning, he proceeded to tell me that I must be a lesbian because I wasn't interested in him. These past years have been extremely difficult to navigate because of this. I couldn't go online without seeing him everywhere and being adored as this soft boy who heroically respects women and mental health issues. I couldn't even go to conventions and enjoy my own hobbies without seeing people dressed up as him. Shelby was right. Staying quiet wasn't bringing me any peace. It was only keeping his. The tweet would garner a lot of support from the community, receiving upwards of 65,000 likes and various comments in support of her, including one from Shubble reading, "I'm so sorry this happened to you. I'm with you." The implosion of Wilbur Soot's career will be a moment to remember for years to come, and if he doesn't somehow come out with a long response disproving the allegations, displaying the proof he claimed he had earlier, and winning his audience back, it's safe to say that not only his career is ruined, but his entire life. His career will go on as a prime example of how quickly an audience can abandon their favorite creator in the wake of serious allegations, and how a poor response can make the situation 10 times worse. From touring the world to being exiled by the internet, the future for Wilbur looks grim to say the least.
Wilbur disappeared after the initial backlash, then returned with a response that created a second wave.
Wilbur Soot experienced one of the craziest downfalls in YouTube history, with him getting exposed as an alleged abuser by his ex-girlfriend.
It was this really funny story to tell, and a good bit to take my arm and bite me in front of everybody until I literally shout in pain.
Making a half-baked response on Twitter, and subsequently getting disowned by anyone even remotely close to him. Even his most loyal fans were forced to turn their backs, as what he did was completely inexcusable, resulting in Wilbur disappearing from the internet completely. But fast forward to June 2025, and Wilbur Soot is back with a new video, desperate to regain what he once had. Unfortunately for Wilbur, the internet hasn't forgotten his depraved past just yet, and all this new video did was remind more people to unsubscribe from his channel. Now, I've already covered the allegations and controversy surrounding Wilbur Soot in extensive detail in a previous video, but if you missed it, here's a super quick refresher to bring you up to speed. Wilbur Patrick Spencer Gold, aka Wilbur Soot, started posting on YouTube all the way back in 2008, when he was just 12 years old. He created multiple channels over the years, but the one that helped him become popular for the first time in 2017 was Soot House, a channel where he narrated memes with friends.
Wandanu. Stitzer.
Sports.
He also launched a personal channel in March of 2019, where he posted Minecraft content alongside some of his original music. Then, in July 2020, he was invited to join the Dream SMP. This skyrocketed his career, allowing him to gain over 6 million subscribers by June 2022. His YouTube success also allowed him to form a successful indie rock band in 2021 called Lovejoy, where they would perform at various venues and festivals worldwide. However, his online empire came crashing down on the 21st of February 2024, when YouTuber and streamer Shubble, aka Shelby Grace, exposed him for being mentally and physically abusive during their relationship.
There were a lot of things wrong in this relationship that I endured some pretty terrible treatment.
She talked about him constantly manipulating her and biting her hard enough to leave bruises.
I would go home later and I'd tell him how uncomfortable I was, how much I didn't like being hurt all the time. And I needed him to really stop biting so hard. I didn't like it, and I tried telling him over and over again because he wasn't actually trying at all to not hurt me.
And while she didn't name drop Wilbur in her stream, it didn't take long for the internet to figure out who she was talking about. Wilbur addressed the allegations a week later with a statement on Twitter that was less about apologizing and more about deflection. As the top reply under his tweet puts it, "You started this off defending yourself by claiming you've changed, making it about you, then left the most simple yet important thing for last, an apology. Even then, your apology isn't an apology. You left it at for any pain I've caused, which lacks any accountability." His terrible response only made the backlash worse. But that wasn't even the end of it all. Because on March 8th, 2024, YouTuber Alice Cosplay also came forward with similar allegations against Wilbur. She even claimed that he attempted to SA her when the two arranged a meetup in 2021. Wilbur never addressed these new accusations and instead decided to vanish from social media and YouTube completely. In the meantime, his band Lovejoy continued to tour, performing in the US, Australia, and several Asian countries over the next year. Wilbur also quietly posted 3 covers on his secondary channel, but refused to acknowledge the controversy altogether. That is, until June of this year. After more than a year of silence, Wilbur Soot has finally returned on June 19th, with a video simply titled, "An Update Video."
Hello, people of 2025. I hope you've all been well.
And to everyone's surprise, he actually tried to address the accusations made against him.
There's been a lot of different clashing labels and opinions about me on the internet over the past year, the loudest of which on both sides of the fence have been quite unhealthy, stemming from accusations made about me from just over a year ago.
But what should have been a complete acknowledgement of his behavior and a sincere attempt to take accountability turned out to be just as hollow as his previous statement, with him once again refusing to apologize or offer any meaningful clarification.
And look, I'm not here to drop any bombshells. I don't want to reopen any old discussions. I responded to the situation in February of last year, and I still stand by everything I said in that statement. I understand it was misinterpreted by some people, probably due to my wording, and I know some people are still looking for clarity.
Wilbur claimed that defending himself would require sharing personal details he's not comfortable revealing.
However, this clarity, the clarity I've offered to my close friends and my family, would mean publicly sharing deeply personal parts of my private life and my relationships with the internet. I've never been comfortable doing that, and I don't believe that should be the cost of being understood.
And while a desire for privacy is understandable, it's unrealistic to expect everyone to simply take him at his word, especially after letting such serious accusations hang in the air for over a year without a single concrete response. A comment under the video perfectly summarizes the situation, stating, "If you want even the chance to be heard or forgiven, you need to tell your side. You can't expect people to blindly trust someone who's been said to hurt others. Either explain your side or be stuck where you've been for the past year being so, quote, busy." Though most other viewers weren't kind enough to give genuine advice and decided to mock him and his horrendous response instead, with comments like, "Legit felt like he was gonna pull a ukulele out. It looks like he's decomposing," and "Looks like a poor Victorian child who drank Sprite for the first time." Another part of the video that rubbed people the wrong way was him saying that he doesn't accept the labels the internet had given him.
All I can say is that the labels that have been attributed to me by social media are not true, and I don't accept them.
As if simply rejecting them is enough to make everyone forget accusations of that magnitude. As an angry commenter puts it, quote, "The label attributed to me is not true and I don't accept it," unquote. Well, I didn't know you could just do that. When your entire career and income depend on people watching and supporting you, you can't just opt out of public accountability. Wilbur either doesn't understand this, or worse, he's deliberately choosing to ignore it, hoping the controversy will fade out without ever having to face it head on. And as if to add insult to injury, he then shifted his focus to talk about his band Lovejoy and promoted their upcoming music. As you might imagine, the internet wasn't happy about this one bit, with posts like, "Promoting your music under a statement about your abuse allegations is effing insane. Him making a statement like that and then promoting his music afterward is a wild choice." Some even accused the whole video of being essentially clickbait to advertise his music, writing, "So what I got from this is that this video is an engagement trap to promote his music." He also announced that he would be returning to YouTube, but this time he won't be making any Minecraft content.
I am coming back to making YouTube videos. However, I'm probably done with Minecraft for the time being.
Instead, he'd be creating geography-related content.
This is something I've had planned for a few years now. In fact, some of you may remember way back in 2022, I had an idea for a weird geography series.
And would only upload this new content to his secondary channel.
I also thought instead of publishing it on this channel, I would instead move my content onto my old channel, which I made in 2017.
Which is the smart choice on paper. If he wants any chance at reviving his career, he can't target the Minecraft community again, as at this point, there's no place for him there. So he decided to follow the tried and true formula of disappearing from the internet for a while, suddenly returning with new content on a secondary channel, and pretending like nothing ever happened. After all, this method worked for the likes of Colleen Ballinger and Cody Ko, and surprisingly, it is working for Wilbur as well, at least for now. His main channel video was met with widespread dismissal, with him suddenly losing even more subscribers than before, and people in the comments joking about forgetting to unsubscribe, saying things like, "I love everyone gathering like, oh shit, we still had notifs on? I never unsubscribed, I just got the jump scare of the century." And this is like getting a message from a dead family member. However, the same day he posted his update video, he also uploaded a new video to his second channel, titled How My Flag Got Radicalized. This was a 20-minute ramble session about different unique flags and how he felt about them. Nothing too special, but unlike the update video where the comment section was overwhelmingly critical, many of the comments under this one are actually positive, with one of the top comments stating, "Can we have more of this exact same genre of video? Wilbur speaking passionately about a random topic for 20 minutes with a comically small mic, it's brilliant." It's possible this difference in response is because the people still subscribe to his old secondary channel aren't active followers. They might not even be aware of the controversy at all. Or maybe these are just the remnants of his most loyal fans, the ones who weren't fazed by the disturbing allegations and feel more comfortable showing support on the lesser known, lower traffic channel. But this does not mean that he'll be able to make a complete comeback, actually far from it. What's more likely is that he'll continue to upload on this second channel and rebuild a community of fans who actually enjoy his content, even if this new community is a fraction of the support he once had. Of course, there's also a chance that the constant online backlash would force him to disappear once again. Only time will tell. Wilbur's response left key questions unresolved. Mizkif faced an even more contested relationship scandal. Mizkif is currently experiencing one of the most destructive downfalls in Twitch history, and from everything that's come out so far, there's nothing he can realistically say or do to salvage his reputation.
I'm ashamed that the situations got so bad, but Emmy was also violent. She would throw clothes or plushies at me, and I punched holes in the walls or slammed doors in aggression.
Allegations from his ex-girlfriend and popular streamer, Amiru, include everything from mental and physical abuse to him threatening self-assassination as a form of emotional manipulation. And that's not even close to the worst things she's exposed about him.
I'm finally going to be opening up about the psychological and domestic stalking and and threats of blackmail that Mizkif has done towards me, and some of these issues which are still ongoing.
For those who don't know, both Mizkif and Amiru are some of the biggest streamers on Twitch, with Amiru averaging nearly 19,000 viewers, while Miz streams to an audience of over 14,000 on the regular. It's also important to note that they lived in the same house and were part of the same organization called OTK, but until recently, the two never publicly admitted to being in a relationship with each other, though most of their fans already suspected as much, and even saw it as fairly fairly cute and wholesome at times. However, while their relationship seemed like an open secret, no one could have expected the level of toxicity that was festering just below the surface. The bombshell dropped on October 25th, 2025, when Amira went live with a stream titled "Talking About Some Things." Fans initially assumed that she was going to talk about the TwitchCon incident that happened just a few days earlier, where a deranged fan attacked her on stage in front of everyone. Amira, however, came prepared with a different topic in mind.
Today, I'm finally going to be opening up about the psychological and domestic stalking and harassment, sexual assault, and threats of blackmail that Ms. Kiff has done towards me, and some of these issues which are still ongoing.
She opened by publicly acknowledging the relationship between her and Ms. Kiff.
I ended up joining the org and everything. We did a lot of streams together. And I mean, a lot of people already know this, but I'm just gonna come out and say it. We started dating. We were in a relationship starting January 2022.
While also clarifying her reasoning for why she was talking about it all now.
The first and probably most severe reason is that one of the rules that I set for myself a long time ago about withholding this information was that if I ever felt like somebody else was in danger or being hurt, I would then make myself speak about it. And 2 weeks ago, actually 3 weeks ago now, I was informed by 3 separate people, one of whom was present for said incident, that he had done something similar to something that he had done to me, and to someone in LA at the end of September. And this person is not a streamer or content creator, but obviously that does not matter. And because of this, I cannot in good conscience sit here knowing that I know critical information about someone that almost no one else does and not say anything.
However, while wanting to save others from the same treatment she endured for years was a large part of it, it wasn't her only reason. As it turned out, Ms. Kiff had been threatening her with a smear campaign against her ever since their relationship fell apart earlier this year. According to Amira, he even went as far as approaching other creators who were close with the two and asked them to join his side. And when none of them agreed to slander Amira on his behalf, he went into full supervillain mode and resorted to more direct threats.
At TwitchCon, he approached one of my employees, threatening them and saying if I ever talked about him, he would destroy me.
For Amira, this was a step too far, forcing her to come forward with everything before Ms. Kiff made his move and muddied the truth. And after providing the much needed context, Amira continued with her first allegation against Ms. Kiff, highlighting just how controlling he was in their relationship.
It's not a secret. I think everyone who paid attention knew that he was very controlling over what I wore, to a degree who I was friends with, and even when I would stream.
This on its own is already a major red flag for many, but as Amira described in her stream, this was only the beginning, and it wasn't long before things escalated to the point of physical abuse.
It was definitely slow over time that bad things started happening. At the start, it would be things like, for example, he would throw bottles, like plastic bottles with liquid in it, not like glass bottles, at me, despite me telling him like I didn't like it and it scared me and I bruised very easily. He would throw his phone at me. I would tell him, you know, it scared me, I don't like it. And one time it even hit me in the eye, which caused me to get a black eye, but he always, you know, was like, oh, it's an accident. And I was like, oh yeah. At the time, I just kind of was, you know, I just brushed it off. And looking back now, I feel like that was kind of the start of him testing my boundaries, if that makes sense.
An important thing to note here is that while Amira brought receipts for some of the allegations, many had no other proof besides her words. Which makes sense. After all, she wasn't living her life expecting to someday need a catalogue of evidence to defend herself publicly. Now, this would have given Ms. Kiff a way to defend himself by labeling most of Amira's claims as nothing more than the lies of a bitter ex. That is, until the internet took it upon themselves to prove the allegations. And the evidence they discovered against Ms. Kiff was overwhelming to say the least. For instance, someone dug up an old screenshot of Amiru's stream as she was switching between different apps on her computer, where one of the applications showed what looked like a close-up shot of her face showing a black eye. This screenshot was taken back in May 2023, while she was still in a relationship with Mizkif. Another leaked screenshot from that time also showed her telling her friends about the black eye, writing, "I got a black eye a week or two ago and it's finally almost gone." And while there's no way to prove that this was the same incident she talked about in her recent stream, the timeline does match up. But that's not all. People discovered a clip of Mizkif getting angry and throwing stuff at Maya, who was his girlfriend before Amiru.
I'm not talking to him today.
Well, nobody asked you to, so.
I'm not doing it.
Okay. Look at her face. She's so uninterested. She said no. Maya unimpressed. That's what that was.
2 Starbucks bags of Starbucks I got you over the past 2 days.
Oh my god. If that was throw it back. Throw it back. Better be.
Oh my god, I would beat the shit out of him.
We're live. What the f?
We're live.
As a commenter on Reddit puts it, he's going to need insane levels of receipts to clear his name from all of this. Though that might not be enough, considering everything so far is only about the first major allegation Amiru raised against him. Mizkif's behavior became a whole lot worse when he got accused of covering for his roommate and fellow streamer Crazy Slick, after he allegedly essayed another streamer named Adriana Lee. OTK hired a third party to investigate the situation, eventually exonerating Mizkif, stating that the Investigations Council did not find direct evidence that Mizkif attempted to minimize or cover up essay as alleged. And as you might imagine, many did not believe this report one bit, writing things like, "We investigated ourselves and found out nothing happened." And surprise, surprise, OTK hired a lawyer doesn't find OTK member at fault. Regardless of what the outcome of that situation was, the backlash from around the internet made Mizkif even more bitter and angry, making his treatment of Amiru even worse.
He never wanted to stream at the same time as me. Like, we really avoided it. The first time that we ever streamed at the same time was for the 2024 Rust Kingdoms event on Twitch. Like I said, you can go find all of this. This is public. There are clips of this. We're both streaming the Rust event, and I thought it was going really well. I thought everyone was having fun. I was like, oh, this is great. Everyone's, you know, doing the same thing at the same time. We're all hanging out. You know, we're gonna have fun. Like, I was really, really excited. And then I start seeing in my chat people start saying unofficial Miz raid, and I'm like, what does that mean? And then I check my Discord messages, and he's messaging me. He's saying like, Emmy, you know, I'm myself, I waited, or I'm gonna KMS, I waited so long for this, etc. Basically he was upset because I had higher viewership than him. That's literally it. I had higher viewership than him. And like I said, this is during an event.
Him getting upset over Amiru having a higher viewership might sound a bit too petty to be real, but as the people on the internet discovered, insecurity over his viewership numbers has been a running theme in Mizkif's career.
Doing sponsors at my desktop.
You had 7,000 viewers when you were playing the Crane game.
I had 14,000 this morning IRLing at the nonprofit.
Okay, I didn't need to hear that.
He gets upset when I succeed.
No, okay. I used no. I used to get upset. I'm not kidding you, chat. I used to legitimately get fucking pissed because I'm like, are you fucking serious? I brought this bitch into the world and now all of a sudden she's fucking growing faster than I was.
Most people at the time assumed that he was just playing up his jealousy as a joke, when in reality, those might have been his real feelings all along. As a viewer puts it, people thought he was jokingly being an a-hole, but he really is just an a-hole. Veil has been lifted. And if emotionally manipulating his girlfriend by threatening to himself wasn't bad enough, he still found a way to take it even further.
He ended his stream, and then I'm still live, you know, trying to act like nothing's wrong. And in that house, I had a glass door so I could like see this was happening. He was walking behind me. He starts walking behind my stream and slamming the door so loud that my noise gate can pick it up, so even people on my stream are able to hear this is happening. And he slams it so hard and so many times that the front door literally broke. The lock did not work anymore.
Upon hearing this, people went back to Amiru's stream from that day, and things played out exactly as she described. From him getting visibly upset by Amiru reaching higher viewership than him.
Do it, dude, we'll join the resistance! You're spelling it wrong? Yeah, my bad.
To slamming the door loud enough to startle Amiru multiple times.
Listen, why are we all acting like we haven't murdered? Like we haven't pillaged? She was coming after me!
But as bad as this was, it paled in comparison to what came afterwards.
He would, destroy furniture in front of me. He would throw things in front of me and near me. Destroy walls. Again, you can go see this in some of his VODs in his bedroom. The holes in the wall. There would be times where he was upset at me, and I would go to my stream room and literally lock myself in to get away from him, and he would be banging on the door and screaming at me. And then at home, other things would happen, like I'd be trying to sleep and he would scream at me and say that it was all my fault that he felt insecure. There was a time that I walked into a room that he was in, and as soon as he saw me there, he threw his phone at the dresser and started yelling because I had posted a YouTube video within the same couple of days as him, and mine was doing better.
Amiru also recounted another incident where he was upset over Mr. Beast collabing with another streamer and not inviting him, and instead of dealing with his emotions like a sane adult, he began driving at obscene speeds with Amiru in the passenger seat, while threatening to end everything.
We were just getting food, and he was on his phone, and he saw that Mr. Beast had put out a video, and Mr. Beast had invited another streamer, and he was like, oh, Mr. Beast invited this guy to his video, not me. And I was like, oh, well, you know, like, huh, yeah, I guess so. Which led to him going 150 miles per hour in the car and talking about himself while doing it.
What makes this even worse is that people found an older clip of Maya describing the same behavior from one of her ex-boyfriends.
Anyway, there's something about being trapped in a car with an angry, aggro man that is like the absolute most helpless thing. Dude, I did a guy that would go like 100 miles an hour on the, like we would fight in the car, which was never my decision. Like it just always like happened. Like we just would like fight in the car, and then he'd go like 100. And I would like literally like beg him to slow down. I'd be so scared and I'd cry, and then he would not slow down until I apologized.
And while Maya didn't mention Mizkif by name in this clip, given the similarities with what Amiru described, most people are certain she was talking about him. Amiru eventually found the courage to break up with him and moved to her own house. A week after their breakup, Mizkif asked if he could come over and talk things out for the sake of closure. And that's when the most serious accusation Amiru brought up against Mizkif happened.
So yeah, we were just talking and I was crying a lot. He started to try to comfort me by hugging me while I was sitting on the couch and holding me really close to him. And when this was happening, we hadn't talked in quite a while, and I'm usually very uncomfortable with being touched a lot by people that I'm not in a relationship with, but I let him hold me while I was crying. And he started kissing me in my face, and I let him do it. I was still sobbing a lot. And then, suddenly, he tried to climb on top of me and aggressively shoved his hand down my pants.
Fortunately, he did back off after the scream, but instead of apologizing or checking if Amiru was okay, he somehow made it all about himself.
And instead of apologizing or checking if I was okay, he said, I feel weird now. I feel like I did something wrong. I have to go. And he immediately left my house while I was still crying, without checking if I was okay or anything.
Near the end of her stream, Amiru also showed the over 40 instances of him trying to contact her in the months after their breakup, trying to convince her to get back together, all while knowing full well that she didn't want anything to do with him anymore. The whole thing made him look like a creep who couldn't accept that Amiru was done with his toxicity and abuse. As her viewers noted, Miz thought maybe she'll finally reply after this 39th attempt. My god, this man is ultra creepy. She she probably gets enough of that shit from the creeper fans on the daily. Awful she had to experience it from the person she was supposed to be able to trust the most. This behavior is also likely why Amiru felt like she had to get a restraining order against Mizkif for her own safety.
Like I said before, people aren't stupid. I think it's pretty clear that a lot of people knew that things were happening, and like I said, you have to remember, it's not just me. A lot of people, they have their own, grievances with him. For the people who did know about this, thank you for being there for me through all of this and supporting me and cheering me on. And there were a lot of people as well who, even though they didn't know anything, without asking any questions, they still were very kind and supportive, and I will always remember that for the rest of my life. I also want to say, just so people know, that I'm not just trying to put this out there and then, I am already in the process of filing a restraining order on him.
By the time Amiru ended her stream, the internet had turned against Mizkif, and understandably so. And with the evidence she had shown on stream, plus everything the internet had dug up, Mizkif didn't seem to have much room left to deny anything. Many even expected him to either go dark for a long time or quit streaming altogether, but to their surprise, Mizkif was live with his response just hours after Amiru shared the allegations. What surprised people even more, however, was the way he began the stream. He didn't start with an apology or the somber tone usually associated with content creators responding to serious allegations. Instead, Mizkif began the stream with a threat to everyone else, claiming that he will go demon time and expose all the dirt he has on other creators.
Expose everything, bro? It's time to go full demon time. It's clearly obvious at this point. It's full demon time. Why not? It is time to go full demon time. Just letting you know. There is no holding back. Who cares anymore? I will expose everything about every person that you've ever known, and it is time to go full demon time.
Now, there is no way to know for sure why he felt it was necessary to declare this before talking about the allegations Amiru brought up against him, but as one viewer puts it, maybe he did so to deter creators from making any statements on the controversy, writing, "His opening sounds more like a warning for any other creator who wants to join the topic or make any statement." That said, his actual response to the allegations wasn't much better either. He started by outright denying the allegations of throwing stuff at her, claiming that he never intended to hit her with the water bottles or his phone.
She brushed over that I threw water bottles or my phone near her, but that wasn't during fights. I want to make that very clear. It would be me throwing my phone on my bed when I brushed my teeth. She did tell me she got a bruise from it, and I stopped. That's all that happened. I will throw you and show you an example, chat. I'm brushing my teeth right here. Look at me. I would throw my phone on the bed. I would just lob it over because I was going to bed. So I would just throw the phone. That's the whole thing. I didn't throw it at her. I want to make that very clear. I never threw it at her. I never hit her. And she even said in her situation that she bruises easily. She brushed over that I threw water bottles with her on my phone near her, but that wasn't during our fights. It would be throwing my phone on my bed when I brushed my teeth. She did tell me she got bruises from it, and I stopped.
With neither side offering any direct proof, this would have been a situation where it was his word against hers. That is, if the people on the internet didn't find evidence of him throwing stuff at his previous girlfriend just as Amiru described he did to her. Not to mention the fact that he conveniently glossed over Amiru getting a black eye from one of the things he allegedly threw at her. That said, he did admit to having a lot of fights with Amiru, but also prefaced it with the excuse that the situation got so bad only because he was under a lot of stress from the SA cover-up allegations.
As this time happened, I was a massive wreck. Couldn't think straight, and being that Amiru hung out with me all day, she too started to become high-strung. We would yell at each other, fight, and argue all the time.
For a second, it looked like he was going to admit his wrongdoings and take responsibility. However, immediately after that, he began talking about how Amiru neglected her pet rabbits and left them to
Amiru has a lot of rabbits. It was her calling when she first moved in. These were a big part of her life. But as those rabbits moved out of her room and into the living room, they started to see disgusting neglect. No food, no water, sometimes not having clean bedding for weeks. I, along with many others who would come over, would give them what they needed, and I would tell her all the time to take care of them, but to no avail.
Even showing a video of just how dirty one of her rabbit's cages was. An important thing to note here is that Amiru already knew he would bring up her rabbits to make her look like a bad person, and even mentioned it in her original stream.
At TwitchCon, he approached one of my employees, threatening them and saying if I ever talked about him, he would destroy me. Multiple people have told me that his plan was to claim that I killed animals and that I killed my own rabbits, since I had several of my rabbits pass away over the course of 3 years while I lived with him.
Streamer I Keep It Taco also posted a lengthy statement defending Emiru and debunking the claims Mizkif made against her in his response, but we'll get to that later. For now, even if we assume everything Mizkif said was true, her mistreating her pet rabbits doesn't nullify the accusations she made against him, including the stuff about him controlling everything about her life. From what she wore to when she streamed, Mizkif's justification for this behavior was only that he did so to keep her safe from stalkers.
In regards to being controlling, I told her many things. I told her to dress older, to stop wearing pajamas, to stop talking about stalkers and schizos as a whole, stop talking about past relationships, and yes, I didn't want her to travel without me. I also said that I didn't want her to hang out with specific people. This is because I didn't want her to get hurt.
Once again, even if we give him the benefit of the doubt and assume that his intentions were just as noble as he claimed, trying to control who she talked to online or IRL is still a step too far in most people's eyes. But then, Mizkif made perhaps the most odd confession of this entire response, implying that Emiru was just as violent as him. In his words, he broke doors and punched holes through walls, while Emiru threw plushies at him.
I'm ashamed that the situations got so bad, but Emmy was also violent. She would throw clothes or plushies at me, and I punched holes in the walls or slammed doors in aggression.
The rest of his response flip-flopped between him admitting that he was in a bad mental state during their relationship.
As for what happened with me and Emiru, I mentally have been fucked up for years.
And trying to justify his actions in odd ways.
Did you really drive 150 miles an hour? I'm gonna say this very clear. If you know me, in Austin, Texas, I drive fast everywhere. I drive fast literally everywhere.
As for the SA allegations, Mizkif had a very different retelling of what transpired that day.
We broke up for about a month, then got back together because we thought we can make it work. We went to get food at BJ's, a common place where we would get food, and then we went back to her house. We cuddled for about 30 minutes and started to kiss. She said that she was okay with this on her stream, and I started to advance to the next stage because I thought that's what she wanted. She yelped, and I immediately sprung up and was scared if I did anything wrong, or did wrong in general. I got scared and left the house. I apologize if that made Emmy uncomfortable for me not saying sorry, and I wish I said sorry back then.
In his version, he framed the encounter as a date of sorts, and made no mention of her crying while this was all going on. That is a small but important detail that reframes the whole situation, and without any solid evidence, we can't be 100% sure on who is telling the truth. Though the general sentiment online is almost entirely in Emiru's favor. Mizkif seems to be aware of this too, saying that he'll stand up for himself since he has nothing left to lose.
Can you clarify what, if anything, was said to her team at TwitchCon? I said that if she goes after me, then I will go nuclear. And that is exactly what I said. And that is what's going to happen. Because you can't mess with me anymore. I don't have anything to lose. I'm sorry I don't. I'm gonna stand up for myself in a lot of these situations because a lot of it was not true. And I don't like that she was portraying that it was just me who was at fault. It was a toxic relationship, and that's what it was.
And that was the gist of his argument, that the two were equally responsible for everything bad that happened in their relationship. That is, until a few hours after the response stream ended and people found him arguing with viewers in the offline chat. And now he had a brand new reason for his bad behavior: drugs. Stating things like, "I've been in therapy for almost a year, been working on myself, and I want to continue doing so. I'm not going to go back to the place I once was. I was suicidal, depressed, and taking every type of drug possible to short-term fix my brain. And in doing that, I hurt myself more. I was on steroids because I thought it would fix myself. I was taking shrooms every day to fix my brain, but that destroyed me. I tried acid and that backfired. In doing that, I know I effed up so bad and hurt so many people around me. I lashed out, I was angry and out of my mind. I did take steroids that gave me insane anger issues." Which begs the question, if substance abuse was such a prominent reason behind his toxic behavior, why didn't he bring it up during his initial response? Is any of this even true, or is he just finding something else besides himself to blame for his destructive actions? Maybe we'll find out in the near future. In the meantime, people on the internet have been digging up even more clips of him mistreating Maya.
Do you like my setup?
Shut up. Excuse me. Don't talk to me like that, Matthew. Sorry, Maya. No, it's not funny. Every time you do it, it bothers me. It's just me kidding around, Maya. Well, it's not funny to me. I don't think it's funny. I don't know why you say it to me all the time. Because it's funny, Maya. It's just me trolling. I don't even realize I say it.
On multiple occasions,
Oh, there he is. He's
Loser!
Third place.
Wait, that's third place. That's
Loser. Loser.
Third place.
Loser. Second loser.
Matt, if you broke that headset, you are DMing Shroud right now.
and making Amiru cry on stream. And as we briefly went over earlier, I Keep It Taco also put out a statement defending Amiru and debunking Mizkif's claims that she neglected her rabbits, writing, "Emily has been one of my best friends for 10 years. At first, I thought this wasn't needed, but it's insane to me to see that people are actually calling her an animal abuser or bun killer on here the past few days and stating it as a fact. She goes way beyond for her pets, and in my view, Mizkif's claims are so easy to refute. To me, he often seems to avoid accountability. He has always come off as highly inauthentic. I personally suspect the cage was recorded after she left back in early July 2024, and kept in case it could be used against her later. Seeing his decision to share the video now instead of back then, it seems to me he may have filmed and kept the video for leverage. What actually happened, to the best of my knowledge, Emily left the cage behind because she was moving out to a new house alone and took her buns with her. It made no sense for her to clean the cage that week. She was focusing on moving away from a bad environment ASAP, and she planned to buy a new one for the new place. He then went on to explain that the cage in Mizkif's photo looked extra dirty because Amiru felt no reason to clean it as she was in the process of moving out. I Keep It Taco also emphasized just how much Amiru cared for each one of them. When one of her rabbits passed away due to pre-existing health conditions, she immediately ended her stream and drove 3 hours to the nearest vet hospital that was still open on a Sunday, and that many of her rabbits died early because they had poor genetics, stating, "A few of her original buns later on were learned to have very poor genetics due to the breeder she got them from years ago, pre-2017/2018. We didn't learn this till the buns bred later on in their lives, and we learned it over time. Emily has cared for multiple bunnies over the years. If they had any medical issue or were found to have a birth defect, she'd spend thousands of dollars to give them the best care as fast as possible. She tried to give her bunnies the fullest and longest lives possible, even when she was told it wasn't worth it financially. This was before she got into streaming too, and she is the same way now. They're not an accessory as some people try to imply on this site. It is hard to believe an animal abuse do this." With Taco's detailed statement backing Amiru and countless people with real rabbit care experience siding with him in the replies, Mizkif's argument is starting to look extremely flaky. The majority of people wouldn't be surprised if he mostly made up the animal neglect narrative as a form of blackmail against Amiru. Combine that with his shifting story about why he was so toxic in the relationship, and things aren't looking good for Mizkif. He's been ousted from OTK, and unless he's able to definitively prove that Amiru either lied or greatly exaggerated many of her serious accusations, he likely won't be accepted back into the greater streaming community anytime soon. On the other hand, if Amiru's allegations are proven to be true, Mizkif also risks getting banned from Twitch and other platforms as well. Even if he isn't banned and is allowed to continue streaming, the backlash from this controversy would follow him for the rest of his career. Whatever the outcome might be, it doesn't look like he'll be going down without a fight. As I was writing this video, he apparently filed a defamation lawsuit against Amiru and Asmongold. Though after analyzing the contents of this lawsuit, many legal experts expect him to suffer a humiliating loss that will only further ruin his reputation. Legal Mindset, for example, posted about the case on Twitter, stating, "Mizkif is going to lose this lawsuit so hilariously. I will need to supersize my popcorn for this one. He has opened himself up to complete reputational destruction while suffering the pain of discovery and legal fees. That being said, the situation could still flip on its head depending on the evidence he's able to present in court. Only time will tell."
Mizkif would later post a response video providing his side and the context missing from the situation initially. Drama responses are a funny thing in the world of e-celebrities. Looking through the history of the most infamous, it feels like they are almost guaranteed to be horrible and land the creator in an even worse spot than they started. Although there are a handful of exceptions, one of the best examples of this phenomenon would have to be Mizkif.
I'm ashamed that the situations got so bad, but Emmy was also violent. She would throw clothes or plushies at me, and I punched holes in the walls or slammed doors in aggression.
In October of 2025, Emiru, Mizkif's former girlfriend, went live and accused him of alleged domestic abuse, stalking, SA, and blackmail. This was a massive bombshell that sent the Twitch community into a frenzy, ultimately resulting in Mizkif losing half of his viewers, getting dropped from OTK, and people making fun of his clearly rushed, emotional response on stream.
And it is time to go full demon time.
Since then, Miz has been doing bizarre things, like faking a pregnancy scare, making a CGI video of himself as a Jedi Knight, and more importantly, has recently made an official legal response as well as accusations towards Asmongold that he had been flirting with Emiru. Now, it looks like a judge has sided with Mizkif, leading some people to switch sides and start defending him. For those of you that don't know the context behind this situation, or maybe you do but you're fuzzy on the details since it's been so long, here's the briefest possible recap to get you up to speed. It'll be quick, I promise. Mizkif used to be one of the biggest streamers on Twitch, at his peak averaging around 30,000 live viewers, and sometimes even hitting 100,000. His biggest strength and large source of how he grew so large was the amount of collaborations he would do, hopping on stream with people like Ludwig, XQC, Pokimane, Tyler1, and the list could go on and on. However, this reliance on networking eventually contributed to his downfall. His reputation took a huge hit after his ex-girlfriend and massive streamer, Emiru, publicly spoke about their relationship and accused him of years of alleged controlling and behavior.
Today, I'm finally going to be opening up about the psychological and domestic abuse, stalking and threats of blackmail that Mizkif has done towards me, and some of these issues which are still ongoing.
She said they dated privately starting in 2022 and decided to come forward because she believed someone else had recently experienced similar behavior from him. She also claimed he had been threatening to ruin her reputation if she ever spoke out. According to Emiru, he allegedly controlled what she wore, who she spent time with, and even when she streamed. She said things gradually became more aggressive, with him throwing objects, punching holes in walls, slamming doors, and blaming his outbursts on her success whenever she got more viewers or attention than he did. She also accused him of threatening to end it all during arguments to manipulate her, and described one incident where he drove recklessly while angry and talking about ending his life. After they broke up, Emiru said he kept contacting her despite making it clear she wanted to move on. She also described a meeting they had after the breakup where she said he became physically intimate, and I'll let her say it herself because I don't want to get sued.
I let him hold me while I was crying, and he started kissing me in my face, and I let him do it. I was still sobbing a lot. And then, suddenly, he tried to climb on top of me and aggressively shoved his hand down my pants, and I screamed. And when I screamed, he jumped off me like a cat, and instead of apologizing or checking if I was okay, he said, "I feel weird now. I feel like I did something wrong. I have to go." And he immediately left my house while I was still crying.
She later said she was seeking a restraining order. A lot of people online started looking through old clips and screenshots that they believed backed up parts of her story, including images of a black eye, clips of Mizkif throwing things in past relationships, and videos showing holes in walls and angry outbursts. While not every accusation had direct proof, many people felt the older clips matched the behavior she described. Mizkif responded the same day by booting up a live stream, which is possibly the worst thing he could have done in this situation. He admitted the relationship was toxic and acknowledged that he punched walls, slammed doors, and struggled with his mental health, but denied intentionally hurting Emiru. He said he was trying to protect her, claimed many arguments happened while he was under extreme stress, and argued that both of them contributed to the relationship's problems. As shown in the intro, this is where the now infamous clip is from.
I'm ashamed that the situations got so bad, but Emmy was also violent. She would throw clothes or plushies at me, and I punched holes in the walls or slammed doors in aggression.
He also accused Amiru of neglecting her rabbits, showing pictures of what he describes are mites in the rabbit's cage. His response was widely criticized because many felt it focused on shifting the blame instead of taking responsibility. He later said drug use, steroids, depression, and therapy were factors in his behavior, but many questioned why those explanations came after his initial response. The controversy led to Mizkif being removed from OTK, and he later filed a defamation lawsuit against Amiru and Asmongold. Amiru for obvious reasons, and Asmongold most likely because he was the largest creator that says he was broadcasting these claims to the most amount of people. This has been what, like 5 minutes of recap? See, that wasn't so bad, was it? As the days turned into weeks and more videos covering the Mizkif situation were released, it felt like the case was already settled in the eyes of many people. Mizkif had been cancelled, and that was the end of it. For Mizkif though, it wasn't that simple. Despite losing over half of his viewership, he continued streaming. Over the following weeks, he carried on as if everything was business as usual, repeatedly telling his audience that he was doing mentally fine, and that he was still going to be in demon time.
How have you been doing these days? I'm great. Today, I did laundry for about 4 hours, went to the gym, went to the sauna. What else did I do? How's your mental? It's great. I'm not kidding you. It's great. I'm very confident and okay. Because I know that I will be okay. It's demon time. But the thing is with demon time, chat, people think demon time is one day. Demon time is not one day. Demon time is a lifestyle. It's long lasting and it will last years. That's what demon time is.
The problem is that constantly insisting you're doing fine usually has the opposite effect. It makes people think you're not actually okay, and you could see that reflected in his chat. Even after being cancelled, Miz was still averaging around 10,000 live viewers. That's an enormous audience by any standard, but there's another factor to consider. Overhead. It's reasonable to assume that Miz had built his business around a certain level of consistent income. Monthly earnings naturally fluctuate, but creators generally have a reliable average they can plan around. If you suddenly lose half your audience, those expenses don't disappear overnight. With his viewership cut in half, it's very possible that his operating costs exceeded what he was bringing in, leaving him in the red. So what do you do when you've lost a massive portion of your audience? In Mizkif's case, he came up with a spur-of-the-moment idea. He announced that he had a girlfriend.
Yo, I want to make this video to show you guys why I haven't been streaming and why I haven't been live lately. I've actually got a girlfriend, and I don't want to hide her from you, so I'd rather show you guys who she is. So, yeah, I'm going to show you and show who she is today. Her name is Juice. Juice.
The announcement generated attention, but most of the reaction was confusion. Many people weren't even sure if it was serious or just another joke. Considering his already damaged reputation when it came to women, a lot of viewers questioned why he would make something like this public in the first place, even if it were to be true. The attention didn't seem to move the needle enough though. Then, on December 12, Miz announced that he had gotten this woman, Juice, pregnant. Once again, the response was overwhelmingly confused and negative. People questioned whether the story was real or simply another attempt to get news outlets talking about him. It turned out to be the latter. A few days later, Miz admitted on stream that the entire story had been fabricated, specifically to attract media attention. As it turns out, he wasn't even dating the woman. The whole thing was a publicity stunt. As I mentioned earlier, it seems pretty clear that the financial pressure was starting to catch up with him. Between the 2 lawsuits he was involved in and everything else happening behind the scenes, he likely needed a way to bring in more money. So, on December 15, he announced that he would be leaving Twitch permanently and moving to Kick. The announcement was accompanied by an absurdly high-budget video of him dressed as a Jedi, running around and cutting people down with a lightsaber. It's honestly kind of hilarious.
Mizkif, it's time you fulfill the prophecy. It's time you joined the dark side.
The reaction was once again mostly negative. Many viewers called it cringe, while others focused on something much more significant. Just a few months earlier, in June 2025, Miz had publicly said that he would never join Kick in a million years. More specifically, he claimed that the site's owner made him want to do bad things to himself. For years, Miz had taken a strong public stance against gambling content. He was one of the biggest voices pushing for gambling streams to be banned on Twitch. Now, he was joining the very platform most closely associated with gambling and Stake, the online casino that helped fund Kick. To many viewers, even the ones that took his side during the Emiru drama, this felt like Mizkif was selling his soul, even if it was to partly fund his defamation lawsuits. Months passed with not much happening until July 7th when Mizkif uploaded Emiru Lied Part 1. Right from the get-go, you can tell this is what he should have responded with initially instead of his impromptu livestream. In his response, Mizkif argues that Emiru's public allegations against him are misleading and leave out key context. Throughout the video, he repeatedly says that he is presenting his side of the story alongside court filings and publicly available records, which I'll leave a link to so you can view them for yourself and have the full context. One of the first points Mizkif makes is about Emiru allegedly telling her audience that she was in the process of filing restraining orders against him in both Texas and California. According to Mizkif, no restraining order was ever filed. He argues that restraining orders are matters of public record, and says that even roughly 8 months after those statements were made, there is still no evidence that one exists in either state. He uses that to argue that her public statements do not match what actually happened.
I am already in the process of filing a restraining order on him in both Texas and California.
20 months have now passed since the alleged incident without a single criminal complaint, restraining order, or investigation appearing in any record in California or Texas. The only active case arising from any of this is my defamation lawsuit that I brought against her. The total absence of any official action over a year and a half stands in stark contrast to the severity of what she accused me of. When she finally did raise it, a full year after the date, she points to, it was not to the police. It was an audience of millions on a live stream.
Mizkif also focuses on Emiru's allegations that he essayed her. He says that although she publicly described the incident as essay, her legal team later argued in court that her statements reflected her emotional truth rather than a literal statement of fact. According to Mizkif, he believes that distinction is significant because emotional truth is different from accusing someone of committing a crime, and he argues that this change in language undermines the certainty of her original public accusations.
She said, and I quote, "Her story is admirable and, in telling it, she is stating her emotional truth, not some statement of decisive fact." My attorneys answered that with one line. Emotional truth is not a recognized defense to defamation in Texas. And this is not just my side spin on her defense. The magistrate judge, restating Shunk's own motion in her own words, described it in exactly those terms. She also argues that her statement, considered in its entirety, was an opinion or her protected emotional truth. The judge did not buy it on the part that matters the most. Vague feelings about a relationship can be protected opinion.
But falsely accusing someone of sexual assault, the judge held, is different because those words can only mean one thing, that I committed a crime.
Another point Mizkif raises is that Amiru allegedly left out what happened after the incident she describes. According to him, the encounter she references was not the final time they were together. He says they continued seeing each other, continued communicating, and allegedly hooked up multiple times afterward, with their relationship continuing on and off until their final breakup in January 2025.
And here is what does not fit an assault. We kept dating for months afterward. Her own messages, laid out in the next two sections, show her coming over, cooking me dinner, asking to sleep together, calling me babe, messaging me, Merry Christmas, babe. When it ended in January 2025, I was the one who walked away, and she is the one who did not want to split up.
Mizkif also disputes Amiru's allegations that he stalked her after their breakup. According to him, he intentionally distanced himself by traveling to Japan shortly after they separated, later returning only briefly before leaving again, and eventually moving to Los Angeles. He even includes a timeline of the alleged events, arguing that these actions are inconsistent with stalking another person. He also points to the same lack of any restraining order as something he believes contradicts those allegations. Regarding the specific incident Amiru allegedly described as stalking, Mizkif says he had been invited to a friend's house after returning from Japan. He claims he opened a door during a tour of the house, noticed several OTK members sitting inside, immediately closed the door, and walked away. According to Mizkif, that brief interaction was later characterized as stalking, something he strongly denies.
I have never talked to her in person since. I have been removed from OTK Discords. I did see her at a party once, at Simply's house, one of my close friends. The house was very small and I opened the door. I said, whoops, I want to make it very clear I was not following her. It just happened that I was with someone she knew the entire night. The house is about 2,000 square feet with about 50 people. I, of course, was near her, but I was never following her. The specific incident she calls stalking is a party. Here's how she described it on her own stream from the certified transcript she filed herself. I made the mistake of thinking that I only had to cut him off through personal private communication, but I also had to start avoiding going to the same parties or places I was worried he'd be. There was a party that I attended. I was aware that he would be there and I thought it wouldn't be a big deal. We're adults, right? During this party, I felt like he was following me around and monitoring me, but I thought that was just being paranoid. About 30 minutes later, the room that we're in, the door opens, it's Miz. He opens the door, makes eye contact with me, goes ooh, and closes the door and leaves. That is the entirety of her stalking allegations.
Finally, Mizkif addresses the implication that he physically abused Amiru after she appeared with a black eye. He says the only incident that ever caused the injury was an accident in which he tossed his phone onto his bed. It bounced unexpectedly and struck her near the eye. According to Mizkif, it was completely unintentional. He apologized immediately, and he stopped throwing his phone after that. He argues that the injury was later presented in a way that allegedly suggested abuse, despite, in his view, being nothing more than an accident.
When a friend asked her directly whether something had given her the black eye, she answered that it was not intentional and called the whole thing a funny story that she would explain later. Bo Batum, did someone knock you out, Emily? Emiru said, not intentionally. I got a black eye a week or two and it's finally almost gone. It's a long story, but funny as fuck. LOL, I'll DM you later. There was never a police report. There is nothing in any record from that time that treats this as an abuse in calls, text messages, or anything that me and Emiru had. It was not called intentional abuse until 3 years later when Emiru went live. The bruise never changed.
The biggest bombshell that Miz reveals during this video is that the judge recommended the case move forward.
But what changed is that in June 2026, a federal judge reviewed her request to throw my entire case out and recommended the opposite. that it moves forward.
When this video first came out, the initial reaction from people who actually watched it was surprisingly positive. It seemed like Mizkif had put together a compelling case for himself, and might have even been starting to shift public opinion back in his favor. Even other creators appeared to agree.
I hate Mizkif. Objectively, he is right. A lot of his points are genuinely valid, and there are inconsistencies in Emiru's story. It doesn't matter what you think about Mizkif. Nobody should be accused of a crime under the guise of emotional truth.
XQC's girlfriend called Emiru's actions silly, and Destiny commented that, in his opinion, it felt like Emiru was lying. Then, Mizkif completely fumbled the momentum. The very next day, he tweeted, "Hey, at Asmongold, you gonna react to your queen Emiru's 48 minutes of lies? Or do you want to keep hitting on her, saying how cool you are for using the N-word as passwords at 33 years old? Emiru sent this to me in a screenshot years ago." Attached to the tweet was what appeared to be a screenshot of DMs between Asmongold and Emiru, in which Asmongold seemingly showed that his password was the N-word. I genuinely have no idea why he thought posting this was a good idea, even if he had been completely right about what he thought the screenshots showed. It completely backfired. For starters, before either Asmongold or Emiru responded, most of the replies didn't seem to care at all. If anything, people thought it was funny. Some were even jokingly calling Asmongold based, and referring to Emiru as a quote, based right-wing chud. Second, people immediately pointed out the hypocrisy. Replies began circulating screenshots of Mizkif himself using the N-word in DMs with friends. Finally, and most importantly, the screenshots were missing almost all of their context. The following day, Emiru posted the full conversation, showing what had actually been discussed. According to the screenshots, they were talking about a particularly notorious viewer who would constantly spam the N-word in chat, using random combinations of letters, numbers, and even Egyptian hieroglyphs to bypass filters. At first, Asmongold said he couldn't respond because he was being sued for defamation by Mizkif. A few days later, however, that lawsuit was dropped, allowing him to address everything publicly. On stream, he essentially confirmed the same explanation Emiru had already given, and pointed out the irony that Mizkif was trying to sue him for defamation while spreading baseless screenshots. That wasn't the only thing Asmongold talked about though. Later in stream, he brought up that Mizkif had openly admitted to encouraging people to watch his videos by paying them. He also said Mizkif had created a Chrome extension that viewers could install to generate quote tickets, which could apparently be exchanged for money.
What the f? So you have to watch? What? So this is like an ad campaign? It's happening again. I updated the extension, but oh my god.
This wasn't just speculation. I went into Mizkif's Discord server myself and verified that the system does in fact exist. When you combine that with the large number of comments that were supposedly deleted by accident from the original video, it starts to paint a familiar picture. Rather than simply letting his evidence and legal arguments speak for themselves, Mizkif once again seems determined to control the narrative surrounding his content. Whether intentional or not, it gave his critics even more ammunition and distracted from what had initially been a surprisingly effective presentation of his case. You may be asking yourself, what does Mizkif's stream look like today? Well, clicking on his most recent stream, and it starts with him playing slots on stake. Then he jumps over to Twitter, watches people he once considered friends, stares at chat looking visibly angry, and then goes right back to gambling. It's honestly a pretty sad state of affairs. This might be one of the most depressing streams I've ever watched. For almost the entire stream, Mizkif is just gambling, while the only real interaction from chat is people asking about the drama. He's even said recently that he hasn't seen his family in months, and that he couldn't visit them for Christmas.
Like, I didn't go home for Christmas, because I just didn't want, not that I think they would like say anything about it, but I just didn't want them to like have it in the back of their head or me feel weird about it, so I just didn't want to go home and even see my family.
Compare that to the upbeat, energetic personality he had in his older streams, and the difference is night and day. He genuinely feels like a completely different person now. It's almost unrecognizable. The biggest obstacle Mizkif faces right now is himself. He actually had an opportunity to turn public opinion in his favor, and to some extent, that was already starting to happen. But he just can't seem to get out of his own way. Instead of letting people hear him out, he insists on being as vindictive as possible. On top of that, he paid viewers to artificially boost engagement on his video, which completely undermines his credibility before people even have a chance to listen to what he has to say. Whether or not he will be able to prove his case or not is up for debate, and only time will tell. He still has yet to post a part 2 of his video, and this may shed more light on details that were not elaborated on further. Mizkif's response complicated the public narrative. Akash Singh's marriage showed how private details can reshape a public career. Indian Will Smith, Kakash Singh, a cash machine. These are just some of the many embarrassing labels floating around Akash Singh's name at the moment. The comedian and co-host of the Flagrant podcast just went from routinely roasting other people's relationships in front of packed crowds.
Look at this cute ass couple. And when I say I'm talking about the girl specifically, not you so much, motherfucker. I'm more astonished how you did this. It's fucking crazy, right? Who the fuck thought that was happening?
To becoming the laughingstock of the internet after the secrets of his marriage were unintentionally exposed by his own wife.
I was popping my pussy and living my best life in these white boy frat houses, and I had a roster of guys that I would rotate through.
To make matters even worse, in addition to the humiliation he's already facing due to his wife's comments, there's a good chance this controversy might also sink his career. Akash Singh had a very different life lined up for him. Growing up in an Indian household in Dallas, Texas, he was pretty much destined for the stereotypical path. Doctor, stable job, make the family proud. He even planned to follow his uncle's footsteps and went pre-med at Austin College, at least until the day he ditched class during his freshman year to hit an open mic in Denton, Texas. A random, impulsive choice that ended up becoming the light bulb moment for his entire life.
But like, he hits me up and he goes, hey, there's an open mic, get 5 minutes of material together. So I did, and in hindsight, it was horrible. And he's like, yo, there's an open mic near my school. Get 5 minutes of material together, you're gonna do it. So I went, like 7 of my friends from college went to watch me, and then that went well. So the jokes are just like about race. And I remembered, you have a script when you first start, you just memorize it.
Yeah.
And I remembered at one point they were laughing so hard I couldn't say the next line that I had rehearsed, and I'm freaking out, like, guys, you're laughing so hard I can't say what I want to say. And then in my head I'm like, oh fuck. Like, further back in my mind I'm like, oh, they're laughing so hard I can't even say what I want to say.
Still, out of respect for his parents, he stuck with school and graduated in 2006, while keeping himself from his real passion. But once he'd given them the degree, he gave himself the permission to chase the dream. So in 2008, he packed up and moved to New York, hoping the big city life would spark his comedy career. However, early on, the only thing he could land was a gig as a comedic barker at the Village Lantern, which basically involved standing outside comedy clubs and shouting at random people to interest them in the show inside. According to Akash, this was the only way he could get time for his own material. In his own words, when you're done barking, you get a special spot at the end of the show. It's so hard to get time. This was a good way to do it. And so he spent the next few years grinding, trying to hit 5 open mics a night, and on good days, even 10. Then finally, in 2015, 7 years after moving his life to New York, Akash got his first real break. It all started a year earlier, when he began uploading videos of his stand-up routine to his YouTube channel in 2014. While the first 2 didn't gain any views, his third video, titled Akash Singh Destroys Heckler Stand-Up Comedy, took off out of nowhere, reaching over 3.7 million views to date. That sudden attention put him on the radar of Nick Cannon, who invited him onto his popular improv battle rap game show Wild 'N Out. And once he got there, he immediately stood out, with viral moments showing off just how quick he was on his feet.
Akash, come here, man. Listen here, Osama, all right? You know what? Sure enough, you only came on Wild 'N Out because you heard you was gonna blow up. Here
the race jokes, I ain't bothered. At the end of the day, at least I know my father.
His time on Wild 'N Out gave him some name recognition, but more importantly, it cracked the door open for TV work. Over the next 3 years, he showed up in a handful of different shows, the most notable of which were his Blink and You'll Miss It cameo as a dry cleaner in the HBO series The Leftovers, his consistent appearances on comedy shows like MTV's Guy Code vs. Girl Code, his Netflix debut on the TV show Brown Nation. These cameos, although small, helped him pull in larger crowds for his stand-up and make a name for himself in the comedy space. However, his crowning achievement, the one that brought him into the mainstream, was his partnership with Andrew Schultz. They ended up coming together to create the Flagrant podcast in September 2017, which was originally created to be about sports, but it slowly transitioned into a pop culture and commentary podcast by 2022, by which point Akash had already cemented his name as one of the bigger comedians on YouTube. However, while most would see this success as one of their biggest wins, Akash says something in his personal life means even more to him: his relationship with his wife, Jasleen. According to Akash, she was the one for him as soon as he met her, and a major reason for that was one huge thing they had in common.
My wife also hadn't had any sexual partners, so that helped us connect a lot more.
Now, let me ask you this:
And
do you believe her?
If you've seen her, then it's hard to believe.
Yeah.
I remember I was just like, what? But she was 22, I was 31. There was an age gap.
Sure. Did you lie, or did you come right out and say like, oh, me too? Or was it, what did that conversation go like?
I don't remember how it came. I think she said
You
it.
blacked out?
She said it, and then I was like,
When she said I'm a virgin, you went, your heart exploded?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, he got happy. He said nothing compared to.
Exactly, dude. I was
a stallion compared to anybody else.
I was so happy.
Yeah, that for
so
sure.
relieved.
Yeah.
And it was just like, it felt right. It was like, oh, God brought me this person that like we already connected, and like she also isn't having sex.
Since then, he's talked countless times about how out of his league she is, and how lucky he feels that she chose him.
My wife is objectively gorgeous. Me, nah. So that's what you gotta do. I gotta work my ass off, and then every time she starts looking at me and she starts assessing my beauty, I just throw it back at that bitch.
Basically, he's put her on a pedestal and has often expressed how much he loves her during his live shows.
So it don't matter how long we've been together. I'm dying with this. I married my wife 2 years ago. I almost forgot. I was just doing the math in my head. Because I'm dying with this bitch. And I'm Hindu, so probably I'm gonna die in the next life with this bitch too.
He eventually proposed to her in July of 2021, and the two have been enjoying their happily ever after ever since. Or at least, that's what everyone thought before his wife decided to publicly humiliate him in November of this year. However, to fully understand the controversy, we first need to talk about the Red Pill YouTuber that kickstarted everything, Myron Gaines. And more specifically, his history with Akash Singh. Myron, along with his co-host Walter Weeks, run the Fresh and Fit podcast, a show that regularly dips into, let's call it, questionable commentary about women.
You know, Dave Chappelle famously said chivalry's dead and women killed it. And the thing is that women have to earn chivalry nowadays versus just expecting it, because women are not equal to men, and chivalry in itself practices inequality. So
in January 2022, some of Myron's comments started circulating online, specifically his explanation about why he doesn't date black women.
The reason why I don't date them a lot of the times isn't necessarily because of the way that they look, it's because a lot of the behaviors that's championed in that community. Now with that said, I've dated plenty of black girls before that were feminine and submissive and weren't a headache, but I've dated I've dealt with a lot that were headaches, and I've come to realize in that culture, unfortunately, it's championed to be strong and independent and not respect male authority in the black community, because a lot of them are fatherless, and since they're fatherless, they don't have that masculine authority to let them know, hey, you need to follow a man's lead.
So on January 10th, 2022, both Akash and Andrew took their chance, inviting both of them to Flagrant and calling them out for their content. They called it corny, immature, and inappropriate for Fresh and Fit's young male audience.
That's fine. A lot of stuff you guys say in general, I think, is stuff that's kind of childish. Okay. It is. I saw a clip where you were like, oh, the nuclear family's falling apart. What do? I don't get married. Just don't get married. You actually trying to help men, or you talking to fucking incels who are 18 years old? You know what I mean? That's some shit you say to college. I'm gonna turn you from a simp to a pimp. All right, bro. Can we grow up? You guys are self-help. You are, hey, we're trying to help men. So either we're funny, Or help men and be real and be honest with yourself and don't have an ego like, oh, I have a preference. Be honest. Have an honest conversation.
But what really caught people's attention was when Akash pressed Myron directly about his reasons for not dating black women.
What I don't like, what I find corny as fuck, is my preference is not my women. Now, I thought it was I'm not dating my women, period, which is the corniest human being outside of a criminal to me, period. It's just, those are your roots. Those women are reflected in your roots. So if you're saying, hey, I don't generally date them, but I have more space for it, even though I still think it's a little corny between, the way I look at it is, you watch them you see them evolutionary charts from Neanderthal to Homo sapien. Yeah. Y'all are the first motherfucker out of Neanderthal.
This roast resulted in severe backlash against Fresh and Fit, and Myron in particular, with the internet perfectly summing up the whole exchange with one comment. I don't date black women. So you deny your own race? No, of course, I date black women. So you misspoke? No. That moment sparked an ongoing feud between the two shows, one that's resurfaced every now and then from 2022 to 2025. On November 7th of this year, Myron escalated things to a whole new personal level. It started with a tweet from Myron reading, "I'm never wrong about these women. Akash Singh tried to lecture me about women years ago. Here's this blank stupid wife making a mockery of him and herself on a podcast." This was followed by a link to one of Jaslene's podcast episodes, which, unfortunately for Akash, Myron wasn't wrong.
Wait, can I also ask, what kind of porn do you watch when you use a vibrator?
Okay, not gonna lie, I don't watch porn while using a vibrator. What? I just think my imagination is vibration enough.
Wow, I actually have a lot of respect because I don't think I would be able to do that.
Sometimes think of like my own husband while I'm like doing it.
Wait, that's kind of baller, but I could never do that.
Especially when Jaslene started talking about how she and her husband split their finances.
How do you and your husband split finances? And I'm gonna be really fucking honest.
I don't.
We don't.
We don't.
We don't.
First of all, that's a fucking red flag. I'm not like, no joke. I love you girls. If you want to work, all for that, whatever. But like, any man that doesn't want to have a joint bank account or isn't being transparent with his accounts or has separate accounts, that's a fucking red flag. And I will say it again, because I know there's going to be already like incel troll fuckers. This is not a two-way street. This is a one-way street. His money is our money and my money is my money.
This came off as both immature and selfish, with people calling her out for it in the comments, stating things like, "I didn't know his wife was this immature. There's a way of doing things when it comes to finances, sharing, etc. But these women are the absolute brain rot to society. If Akash would finally fall down, she'd leave. Red flags all over." Meanwhile, Myron continued doubling down by posting a video to his YouTube channel where he reacted to a compilation of Jaslene's most controversial comments. This also ended up highlighting Jaslene's biggest red flag, one that Akash is still being roasted for.
Sometimes I get so painfully nostalgic for college. I was popping my pussy and living my best life in these white boy frat houses and I had a roster of guys that I would rotate through. So it's like, ugh.
Once this clip went viral across the internet, the backlash was immense. Some went after Jaslene for the vulgar comments she made about her sex life, saying, "Who the F brags about being passed around like a joint at a frat party?" And "She is willing to drop confessions that Batman couldn't beat out of me." While others aimed their criticism at Akash for getting tricked into thinking his wife was an angel, with comments like, "My man picked up the first stripper that would actually talk to him. She said, 'I'm a virgin,' and he gave her half his money. And this is what happens when you fall for beauty over character." But unfortunately, that was nowhere near the end of Akash's humiliation ritual, because another video of her also ended up uncovering Jaslene's feelings for her sister's husband.
Yeah, I'm actively trying to have an orgy because this couple is so fucking good looking, and you haven't seen Nav yet, but wait till you fucking see him. His body goes crazy. His face card always slays, never declines. And it's kind of weird because I'm talking about your husband. I just know that Nav's dick is like at least 10 inches.
You would only be down for an orgy if
It's thick.
But what made this even worse was how she went on to shamelessly double down in her comments, with both Akash and her brother-in-law in the room.
There's a difference being a scammer and being a hustler. Two very different things.
Okay.
I'm a hustler who scams a little bit. I'm not a scammer who
I'm not
hustles.
gonna lie, that was sexy, and that's why I'm actively trying to have an orgy.
This sparked a massive wave of unwanted comparisons for Akash, including some viewers calling him the Indian Will Smith. For Myron, on the other hand, this was the best news he could ask for. His video on the couple blew up, amassing over 600,000 views, which was way above the average views he gets on his channel. Eventually, the whole thing reached Jasleen, who decided to address the situation on TikTok in the most condescending way possible.
That's what I feel like you guys are doing, whether it's Andrew Tate or fucking Red Pill podcast guys. Like, when they tell you something, when they ask you to jump, you say how high. You're still not a man either way. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, you're still a little bitch, beta boy doing whatever the fucking men tell you. Why are you mad at us? Why are you mad if me and my husband are cool with each other, if we both make jokes at each other's expense? The difference is my husband will go on stage and say whatever the fuck he wants about me. No one has anything to say. It's like, oh my God, it's so funny, it's so relatable. But then I come on TikTok and I make jokes and now you have a fucking problem? Because I don't have a mic in my hand? Like, make it make sense. I'm not here for the misogyny.
She also claimed that this controversy didn't bother her, since it was sending new traffic to her podcast.
One thing that I will say, being canceled by this, like, people doesn't affect me as much because I genuinely don't respect them. I'm just like, okay, like, talk about me all you want, drive traffic to my page. Our YouTube video, our podcast episode that me and Nahal did got 37,000 views, which for us is really high because we're just starting out. So I'm like, okay, keep driving traffic. I'm not even going to read any of the comments.
But this only increased the hate against her, because even though she framed everything as friendly banter between her and Akash, she failed to defend or even acknowledge how she may have lied about her virginity. Meanwhile, Akash tried to clap back at Myron himself on Twitter, writing, "My man out here getting triggered by jokes. How ironic. Well, don't worry about me, Myron. I got no issue putting a B back in her place," ending it by reposting the old 2022 clip of him roasting Myron for his comments on black women. However, to the people on the internet, this response felt like nothing more than deflection. To them, he was avoiding the real issue, his wife's comments, while desperately trying to redirect the drama towards Myron. "You're gonna have to turn off the comments after this, you dweeb. Your stupid wife on podcasts talking about his money is our money and my money is my money. Buddy, you're a victim." And it was only downhill from there, because it didn't take long for people to uncover even more clips of his wife making weird comments that only made Akash look worse, starting with another episode of the main character podcast, where Jasleen casually dropped even more wild stories from her past.
Wait, okay, I have two butthole stories. So one time I met this guy on Tinder and I made the dumb mistake of letting him sleep over, like not really wanting to fucking hook up. And I like woke up in the morning and like my asshole was a little sore.
Oh my God.
At this point, the majority of the internet was convinced that it was Jasleen that had lied to him about being a virgin, and that she didn't genuinely view him as her husband, but rather as a cash machine, which was only amplified when people dug up clip after clip of her dodging his kisses, on vacation,
I'm sorry, I just need 1 minute to make sure I look good. Do you think I look good, Mr. Armstrong?
during his proposal, and even after he renewed their wedding vows and bought her a brand new ring.
Oh,
It's me.
my God.
Sing, will you be Jasleen sing forever again?
Yes. Oh my God. Oh.
Take that drinky thing off. That drinky ding.
Did you guys notice? Yes. Oh my God. How big is this?
Big enough for you to shut up every time I tell you.
Thank you so much. What do you say? This is so good.
It looks so beautiful.
People also found the way Jasleen tries to ignore him to focus on her new ring as a sign of her lacking any real affection for him, something that also seems evident from even more clips from her TikTok and podcast that have resurfaced since. Like when she explained why they have such a happy marriage.
Do you know why I think I have like a good marriage, knock on wood? Not my pantry being open. I think it's because my husband's never here.
or when she explained what she has to go through on his birthday.
Okay, May the 4th is Akash's birthday. And
May the 4th be with you.
Yes.
Yeah, and every year I dread it because I have to be nice the whole day, and I have to get him something, and I have to also be nice and do like acts of kindness.
Or how she couldn't even bring herself to say that she loves him on their wedding day.
That's what's
Jasleen did respond to the criticism once again, this time to offer an explanation for why she avoids kissing Akash in public, claiming that it was because of her fear of PDA.
Then I'll also respond to the people saying I don't like my husband because I turned away from a kiss. I've never liked PDA, physical touch. I find it really overstimulating. And so it's something I actually work through with my husband because that's his love language. And I feel like for him, he tries to do physical touch to regulate his emotions, and I find it really dysregulating. So it's something we kind of work through in high stress situations because I get overstimulated when a lot of things are happening.
And to her credit, she has talked about this before on her podcast, describing public affection as overstimulating, something that heightens her anxiety.
The second thing he'll do is that he'll kiss me in situations that are already overstimulating, like in an elevator full of people when we're in a rush trying to leave. And so he'll kiss me on the forehead, which is sweet, but he'll do it, Neho, I'm not even joking, like 5 times. like these pecks, which again, it's like, I'm not trying to be a bitch, but like after like the 3rd time, I'm like, stop! Don't fucking touch me!
But while this could have been a legit explanation for her awkwardness, most people just didn't buy it, especially given the explicit stories she's shared about her past, stories that notably never included her own husband. It also didn't help that in the following days, the internet somehow managed to continue uncovering even more clips of her blatantly disrespecting her partner, including one where she shares some very hypocritical takes on prenups.
Is it just me, or is the idea of asking a girl to sign a prenup incredibly offensive? And only one way. Like if I asked someone to sign a prenup because I had some like booming business, then I would be like, yeah, can you just sign this prenup because like I don't want to like lose all my money. But then like if a guy asked me to sign a prenup, I would be like, I would call off the wedding. Like, I would literally call off the wedding.
All of this, unsurprisingly, resulted in Jasleen receiving a lot of hate from around the internet, with some people labeling her as a gold digger who's only with Akash for his money.
I think the misconception about me is that maybe I'm a gold digger or that I came from privilege, which are both partly true.
Some have even gone as far as to accuse her of being a serial cheater who's not attracted to Akash at all. But even if that's not true, she's still continuing to disrespect her husband in front of the entire internet, while Akash seems powerless to stop her. That said, what is equally important here is to consider the impact these comments have on Akash himself and his comedy career. He has made a living from crowd work during his live shows, which usually involves him pointing out couples in the crowd and roasting their relationship dynamics.
This cute ass couple. And when I say I'm talking about the girl specifically, not you so much, I'm more astonished at how you did this. That is crazy, right? Who the fuck thought that was happening? You got a great job, huh? So she put her head in his lap as soon as I said it. She was like, yeah, I probably owe him some head. He makes a lot of money.
But now that his marriage has been publicly dissected and ridiculed, that signature style of comedy might no longer be an option for him. However, what's even more concerning is that it appears Akash is taking everything quite hard. Multiple people who attended his most recent show described it as awkward, saying he essentially used the entire set as a therapy session, where he talked about how great of a person his wife is, while reassuring everyone that they're absolutely fine. There's also a clip circulating online from that same event, where Akash starts off by addressing the situation directly, claiming his wife supported him long before he made it.
These narratives, people calling your wife a gold digger and a whore and all these other things, it's a shitty thing. So I'm gonna tell one story that I have never even told her, honestly. She has no idea this story. My wife and I met in 2014. I was not making much money. I was getting $25 a night doing stand-up. I was on MTV shows that paid dog shit money. If she was a gold digger, I didn't even have 10 to get rich, to be honest.
He also went on to mention a time in 2018 when he went completely broke, but she still stuck by him.
But then in 2018, I went flat. 34 years old, I probably made $4,000 that entire year, and we couldn't even afford the living room we lived in New York City. We had to stay in our apartment illegally. We were supposed to have been out by like 12 p.m. We moved everything out. We didn't have a place to stay, so we had to stay there that night. It was just me and her sleeping on the hardwood floor. I'm 34 years old. She's 25 years old. I'm looking at this girl like, man, you could go be with an Indian who's a doctor, like a real Indian.
He then ended the story by highlighting how she's never complained once.
And I have nothing to give her. It's just a light jacket. It's like October. We have nothing. So I hand her the jacket, and then she said, "What's this for?" I said, "You can use that as a pillow." And then she goes, "Well, what are you going to use?" And I said, "I'll figure it out." She handed me back the jacket. She goes, "You take this." And then she lay with her head on my chest and her arm around me the entire night. And I remember thinking in that moment, this is why I haven't shared this with her, because I remember thinking, I don't know if I'm going to be able to marry this girl because I'm so broken. I'm in such a bad place and it's a dark time in my life. But I know I will never find a girl that loves me this much ever again.
But as expected, many on the internet didn't believe him, with people leaving comments like, "No way she did this, he's trying to save face," and "He never told her because it never happened." Now, you'd think that this would be the end of it, but not long after this show, another one of Jaslene's old TikToks resurfaced online, where she basically exposed Akash's entire story again.
And he was able to like reach a six-figure salary, which at the time was really huge for us. But then in 2018, like all of the opportunities started to dry up. He was kind of aging out of the MTV bracket, and he wasn't really getting any attention from the industry. So he was pretty much losing all his income. And at the same time, I was working a really toxic job with like a toxic manager and like working till 2 a.m. And it just caused a lot of stress on our relationship. I really, wanted to get married and like wanted to move forward. And he was like, I don't even know who I am as a man if I'm not even able to achieve something I poured 15 years into. And like, I don't even know how I'm going to provide for you or our future as a family. And everything came to a head when my mother-in-law came to visit us. And I was being very distant because of everything we were going through. Akash was very stressed. And I think she kind of internalized it like that I was towards her or passive aggressive towards her. It was a huge fight between all of us. Basically, Akash did not defend me, and I was like, okay, I don't know if I can be in a relationship with this person anymore.
At this point, it's safe to say that he's either in denial or lying to save face. However, what was even more concerning for Akash was the roast waiting for him when he returned to Flagrant, especially after Andrew and his other co-hosts' very telling reaction to learning about the controversy.
Akash is in India or Dubai.
A planned trip.
A planned trip that was planned before this madness. Okay? He's there. And obviously we want to talk about what's going on, but we don't feel right talking about without him here.
Mm-hmm.
So once he's back, we're going to have that conversation. I'm sure that will be spirited.
It seemed like Andrew can't wait for Akash to be back so he can roast him in person for his wife's comments. But beyond the jokes, the big question viewers had was what would happen to Akash's role on the show when he returns. Because he and Andrew are known for relentlessly mocking other people's relationships.
Do you think that your girl has slept with 3 times the amount of guys she's told you?
Why the fuck did you just ask me that?
I need to make it real.
I didn't say body count. I said I want to hear about a couple of the previous.
Why you want to hear? Why?
I just want to see.
What are you gonna get out of that?
I just want to make sure. I just want to make sure
you jerking off to
she
it?
got good taste.
Yeah, that's some tough shit.
Just make sure she got good taste. Imagine all the dudes previous were just some lame ass dudes, and I'm like, am I one of those?
Yeah. And that lane might not be open for Akash anymore, not after being humiliated so publicly. Some fans were also worried that this could damage the chemistry between the two, and potentially hurt the long-term future of the podcast. And it seems Andrew knew this quite well, because the new Flagrant episode finally released with Jaslene as the guest, and both Akash and Andrew are in damage control mode, where they are trying to clear Jaslene's name with semantics.
I thought it was just like dancing, getting dressed up, and maybe that was my mistake.
Yeah.
So I acknowledge that.
Look at this.
Big one.
Yeah, the act of getting dressed up, looking fly as hell, wearing a minimum of 3-inch heels, preferably higher, and dancing your ass off into the wee hours of the morning. That was what I was doing.
But here's the thing. The damage is already done, and no amount of definition hunting on Urban Dictionary is going to change the internet's mind. As the top comment under this episode puts it, 5 minutes in, and I'm insulted they think we're that stupid. The only feasible way that Akash could turn this situation around is if he embraces his new label of being a simp, which admittedly is quite possible since he's never shied away from self-depreciating jokes in the past.